Good evening, everybody! 3 different races, 3 different winners, and now we come to one of the most legendary races in the series, Monaco. Qualifying session is being completed. We have some very interesting scenarios to play out for you, which we will in just a few moments. I'm Jason White, your commentator for this race. And of course, this is Monte Carlo. And I'm joined in the booth by Alberto Ibañez and Ryan Walker. Gentlemen, good evening.
Good evening, everybody.
Yep, good evening, everyone.
Yeah, this is, I think, fair to say, one of the crown jewels, not only of Formula One, but of motorsport. It holds a place in the hearts of racing fans similar to that of the Indianapolis 500, the 24 Hours of Le Mans, 12 Hours of Sebring, Daytona 500. This is a race that, if you've won it, assures your place in the history books forever. The Grand Prix of Monaco. Gentlemen, what are your thoughts on the race today as we take a look at the track map?
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, it's for a reason that it's part of the famous World Triple Crown that only Graham Hill has won so far. This is a race that has been in the Formula calendar, I think, nearly since the very beginning, when Prince Rainier wanted to promote Monaco, the Principality of Monaco, as one of the hot venues in Europe for doing many things, from gambling to auto racing to many other things. And it's a track that it's so complicated to master. It's the only remaining street track that was back then in the calendar. Nowadays we have more of those, but they are not as tight, not as complicated, not as difficult as this one is. Monaco it's really a challenge on its own. And I mean, even if you were to run alone, it would be already challenging enough. So let alone in traffic.
It's a circuit too that really stands alone in terms of its ability to withstand change over the years. I mean, obviously there have been changes. The chicane, obviously, that was put in. This is actually the first year that the 1986 cars. Well, sorry, let me start over. This was the first year, 1986, where they used the Nouvelle chicane. Prior to that, it was a simple left-right flick. So that's pretty much the last major change to this circuit. The other major one would have been the swimming pool complex and the difference in the Rascasse. It used to be just a simple hairpin before, but by and large, this circuit has remained relatively unchanged since it was first used in '29, and a lot of other circuits around the world were forced to change their format or undergo major modifications, usually forced to do so by the Grand Prix Drivers Association, and not for frivolous reasons, because they were supposed to be made safer because of the car's changing nature. This is probably the only circuit in the world that I can think of, Ryan, that eschewed or got around that those movements simply because of the fact that it is Monaco. It is its own thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you were talking about changes, that the last major change around this track that was made was probably in the turn 15 and 16 chicane, and turn 17 La Rascasse. I think 2003 they made it wider, and the speeds then just got higher and got quicker and quicker, and I think ever since then it's not really been changed that much. But Monaco itself, it's such a great track to just even lap around by yourself. It's just got that nostalgic feel about it.
The other thing I would point out about Monaco is that I am lucky enough to have actually walked these streets in person. And I've mentioned before to both of you that having been to Indianapolis, you hear the stories about the first turn at Indianapolis feeling really claustrophobic and like you're just going into a dark alley. Believe me, it feels that way when you're standing there and looking at it. It's even more so. TV doesn't do it justice, and TV does not do justice to a lot of the features of this circuit. It is very small and very confining, and the natural reaction to that observation is, well, yeah, what else is new? But no, if you're physically there and physically looking at it, you're like, good grief, how do they do this every year? How do they get these cars around here? And how do they even finish? It just seems just an impossible task. But every year they put on this race, and it's easily one of the greatest shows on earth, no question.
Yeah,
So
well, for a reason, it's just the elite of the drivers who are usually in the Formula One. I mean, few people other than those could be able to do this, what they are doing here, like driving these cars around such a tight track. Because remember, everybody, I mean, we're talking here about cars that are about 2 meters wide, which is a lot more than the average street car than you can imagine. And if you look at Google and if you look at pictures of Monaco when the race circuit is not on, and you see the cars going on that circuit, you can see there are some places where there is that continuous line there in the ground because it's basically a two-direction street. The principality is obviously very small, so you need many streets to be in the two different directions. And you see cars there, normal cars, they're going one and the other in the opposite direction, and it's like good grief. I mean, they nearly don't fit. There are times when you would think they would have to stop and make room for the other car to go by. You don't realize that when you are only seeing a single Formula One watching, when you're watching it racing there. But imagine what it is to drag 2 meters of width of a car working against the slip angles that also when you are at some speed, they put the car in an attitude. And imagine what it is to basically round the corners so close to the barriers because everybody knows it's a matter of physics. The longer you can make the corner, the wider you can make it, the quicker you can go. And the way to go wider here is basically going as close to the barriers as you can, as close to the barrier when you're on the outside, as close as possible when you're keeping the inside, and again as close, and that's the critical part, as close as possible when you're exiting on the power with the car side sliding. And you need to be really, really precise to be able to do that.
yeah, and it's a situation where you make one error around here, and basically that's probably the end of your race. There are no, I mean, there are runoff areas in a few places, but uh, even if you head down those, getting back out of it again is another matter. So uh, I think we're going to see a lot of close quarters action today. Obviously, we may see some drivers getting very frustrated at not being able to overtake, and what we hope we don't see is a major collision on lap one at Sandoval. Hopefully not. We've been pretty lucky so far with starts in this series, but we'll see what happens. Why don't we, while the server is being reloaded, let's take a look at the point situation as it is right now. After 3 rounds, Anders Nilsson of Scuderia Ferrari is in the lead with 19 points. Dave Miller, after his win in San Marino, is in second with 13 points. Richard Wilkes is in third with 12 points. And then it's a tie for fourth place between David Jakes and Juha Boss with 8 points apiece. In the constructors' standings, Scuderia Ferrari is on top with 19 points. JPS Team Lotus is second with 14 points. Canon Williams Honda is in third with 13 points, and then it's a tie for fourth between Benetton and Equipe Ligier with 10 points apiece. So it's still really early days in the championship, and the parity of those wins, gentlemen, I think, really throws things wide open. And here we have a race that's a great equalizer. I think we have every reason to believe that this is going to be a great contest today, and I have every reason to believe that there's going to be no clear championship favorite even after this race.
Yeah, absolutely not. I think Monaco tonight it could mix it up a little bit, like I was talking about before we went on air. I think Monaco is one of those tracks that it gives drivers that you don't normally see up at the front a chance to get right up there and get in the results and get in the top 10 and have a good result when other people are having issues. And that's the thing that Monaco's great for, I think. Anyway, it just it seems to throw a spanner in the works, if you like.
The other thing that, oh, sorry, go ahead, Alberto.
Oh no, no, sorry. No, I was just going to say that that was one of my keys to today's race. That in this case, and thinking of the championship, as you say, this is the fourth race, so we're about 1/4 into the championship. So things are starting to shape up at the top. You can see already tendencies and people who are like challenging there for the championship. And one of the keys here is you have something to win, obviously, because winning here, scoring points here is very important. It's something that can consolidate you in the top of the championship or as a challenger. But you have probably even more to lose because it's so easy to not score at all here. Any error on another track usually can mean that you drop one or two or maybe even three position, but can still score points. But errors here, you will pay dearly for them. And if you lose here, for example, for one of the top contenders, if you see the other top contender scoring here victory, that's 10 points, and you hit against the barrier or have a problem with a lap car or whatever and end your race there on the sidelines, that's going to hurt lately.
All right, so we got the server back up now. I believe what's going on is the what should we call it? The driver's briefing, which is always an important thing for all the drivers to stay off the track and pay attention to what's being said, because usually these are important pieces of information. And one piece of information, which I'm sure is not going to be welcome for at least 3 people, is that the grid is limited to 24 cars here, and we had 27 entrants. So that means 3 people won't be able to race today. I believe one of them was Luciano Rocha, and I know he finished just outside the top 24, and I know that's going to be a disappointment to Hedison Alves and Joe Martins and a few people on YouTube because they were cheering him on earlier. But that was the way it was in real life at Monaco too. I mean, there were limits. I mean, at one point they limited the grid to 20 cars.
Yeah, it's a safety concern always here to have so many cars, especially at turn 1.
Yeah. All right, so once the warm-up starts here, we'll have a chance to go, and there are the cars. We'll have a chance to go around the circuit with somebody. We also have some trivia questions lined up for you. This would be a good chance to preview them. I've got 2 questions this evening. So here are the trivia questions just to give you something to ponder. First question, who won the first post-war Monaco Grand Prix held on May 16th, 1948? Was it A, Giuseppe Farina, B, Louis Chiron, or C, Alberto Ascari? That's the first trivia question. Now, the second one goes like this. There are 2 constructors with 4 Monaco Grand Prix wins total in the overall list of constructor wins. 2 of them with 4 total. One of them is Red Bull. Which one is the other? Is it A, Bugatti, B, BRM, or C, Maserati? The key word there is total. So, this is the price I pay for having a lawyer in the booth with me. I have to make sure I word these questions as clearly as possible.
Why? I didn't know that Ryan was a lawyer.
Oh.
No.
Well, we'll have the answers for you later on. So, and let's also talk about what's coming up in this series while we have a chance. Next week, we go back to the DRM series. Hang on one second. The DRM series, which is only 6 rounds, and they're spaced out quite a lot, but next week is one of our big races. It's not 1,000 kilometers like it says there. It's actually half of that, so that we can enable people to drive solo. But that doesn't mean that it's not going to be a crazy race. It's going to be 3 hours solo for some people, and it's on the modern Nürburgring. Definitely going to be interesting. Alberto and I are both driving in the B segment of cars, but it's likely to be a really interesting race at the front in the C segment. I don't believe it's going to be broadcast, because most of the people that would be broadcasting will be driving in this, but it's a short series anyway. Maybe we can create a highlight package at some point. I don't know, but
yeah, I hope so, because it's even if it's shortened, because the rationale is that normally there are 2 drivers in the car, so each one will be doing half a distance, and so for those who are driving solo, we are doing half a distance. But even so, it's an endurance race. It's a long race, so I don't think it would be that much appealing to broadcast anyway, but we will see. I mean, probably a highlights video is in order, and that would be fine.
In any case, it's nice to have a sports car series in here. I mean, we tend to favor open wheel series a lot of the time around here, but we do run our occasional touring car series and sports cars, so it's always something we enjoy doing, and the endurance races are a lot of fun. Then the following week, we're going back Formula One racing once again, and we're already at Spa. That's kind of bizarre to me, because I'm used to thinking of Spa as being in a later portion of the Formula One calendar, but in this situation in 1986, it was actually earlier. Round 5 out of 16, Grand Prix de Belgique at Spa on Sunday, March 21st, green light 2000 CET, and then we go back IndyCar racing, the Gabriel 200 from everyone's favorite kidney bean-shaped track, Trenton International Speedway. That's on Sunday, March 28th. Green flag with Johnny Aces will be at 2000 CET. Now, let's see. Where are we on the track? I guess we're still going through the pre-race politics and the this is how it has to be and all that stuff. So
yeah, drivers are still being briefed.
yes, when you see a yellow flag, that means danger. No overtaking. I had read a story somewhere about the driver's briefing that really made me laugh. I think it was at the Dallas Grand Prix in '84. I could be wrong about where it was, but in any case, the point would be wherever it was that the driver's briefing was set at 7 a.m. And the drivers were really not a fan of. They were not fans of showing up at a briefing that early in the morning. And to protest that, Jacques Lafitte showed up at the briefing in his pajamas with a teddy bear. So, Jacques Lafitte apparently the practical joker. So,
Yeah, definitely. Anyway, also drivers who have been repeatedly fined in history for not attending the driver's briefing.
Yeah, looking here at the Sandevot corner, I mean, no cars on track, but you can see how incredibly tight it is. Then you head up that hill, and I've been on this hill here that heads up. It's called Beau Rivage, and it is very, very diabolical because there's only one way up this hill. You cannot run cars side by side. And that leads you into the Massenet, which then takes you to Casino Square. I mean, these are all corners that everybody knows. Oh, and I believe now we've got cars ready to leave the garage. Yes, we do. All right, so let's jump on board with one of these drivers. Here's Brian Janik. He's coming out of the pits. Actually, his teammate, Cale McKeels, is just ahead of him. Here they go, exiting the pits.
Brian, who qualified brilliantly, that car is not really sweet to Monaco, and we will talk a bit more about the cars later if you want, and we'll see who are the favorites here and why.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, what Brian did was no easy feat at all, I can tell you.
Downshifting now for the Massenet, and now back to the right. Corner that's a lot quicker than it looks in the Casino Square. Now the plunge downhill. I've walked down this hill and it is steeper than you would ever imagine it to be from what you see on TV. Now after Mirabeau into the famous station hairpin. Now back to the right to go into Poitiers under that little bridge there, and now into the tunnel. Wasn't there a story one time about the kitchen being on fire in the hotel and the sprinklers flooding the kitchen so the water got down into the tunnel and that delayed the start one year or something?
Yeah, I think that was 1981, I think.
Yeah. And of course there have been opposite problems where they had to wet down the tunnel when it was raining because then it would even things out.
Yeah, lots of stories here in Monaco.
Yeah.
And as we know, and it was also, I think, reflected in the Grand Prix movie,
Yes.
cars that have been known to end here occasionally in the water in the harbor.
Oh, and of course, yeah, here, okay, let's see if I can find somebody who's going to do a lap. Here's Tim Hill. Oh, we got a Ferrari backwards at the exit of the swimming pool. Never a dull moment for the Tifosi.
So there's Hackman now, initiating the lap.
Well, here's Tim Hill starting lap now. Out of the final turn, onto the main straight, which is not really a straight. It just kind of gently curves to the right. And now downshifting for the very tight Sandevot corner. Oh, and he clips the outside barrier. Heading up now, Beau Rivage. You can see how you're basically just kind of finding the straightest line through this as it meanders. Now back to the left through the Massenet. Lots of shishi establishments on the left there. Now back to the right through Casino Square. Down this hill, tip-top bar on the left, if those walls could talk. And now into the Mirabeau, heading downhill again. There is the Lowe's Hotel just ahead. This is the Lowe's hairpin, an iconic hairpin, everyone knows. Now back to the right, where there's Poitiers here, and then one more right-hand turn into the famous tunnel, up through the gears, and there's a very specific line you have to take through here to be quick. Exiting the tunnel, a little downhill here and now for the Nouvelle Chicane. Again, this is the first year that the Nouvelle Chicane was used, and the drivers were very happy about its introduction at the time. At least that's what I've been told. Now into the tobacconist turn, which is pretty fast. And now the left-right, right-left combo at the swimming pool. The left-right is faster than the right-left. The right-left is a little tighter. Now you're back behind the garage area, accelerating towards the Rascas restaurant right in front of us here. Left, right, a double apex right-hander. And now one more corner, Anthony No. Right, a little bit of a left, and now we're back on the main straight, and that is one lap of Monaco Grand Prix circuit.
And this front straight, contrary to what you would normally believe, is not a place to overtake. The only real clear place to overtake here is exiting the tunnel and going there down to the chicane. You can there outbrake someone, but if it's not there, it's going to be really complicated to pass here. So that's another of the keys in this race. Track position is going to be absolutely paramount, because it's nearly impossible to pass another car who is on your pace unless there is a big driving error. And even so, even if there is a big driving error, chances are that the other car is going to stay in the middle of the track and just hamper you. So
Yeah, all you have to do is drive slightly off of your line, and it's enough to keep someone behind you. It's not hard to make it difficult for the guy behind you here. I have seen instances where people have passed other cars at the Mirabeau, but under extreme circumstances, and in some cases there have been accidents there that were very serious. I can think of, in particular, the 1986 race where I believe it was Tambay trying to overtake Brundle at the Mirabeau, and it was late in the race, and he got a little bit alongside him, but nowhere near enough to take the corner away, and Brundle just turned in, and the resulting collision sent Tambay's Lola over the top of Brundle's Tyrrell, and his left rear tire nearly took Brundle's head off. It was not something to laugh off.
yeah, and let's talk about cars now, because this is such a very peculiar track, and it's so different from the rest of what you see in the schedule. Obviously, the cars were not designed with this track in mind, because when you're the designer and you're in front of your blank sheet, what you're actually doing is try to get a car that works at the most part of the calendar, that can give you the most benefits in most tracks, which are quite different to this one. But there are some cars that are actually quite well suited to this one, just because of the specific design traits that they had. The first one is the Lotus, because it's a very small car. It's a car that it's nimble, it's very agile, it's very small, and Ayrton Senna obviously in real life made the most of it, but it really suited this track. And it was one of the few where it would actually shine. The other car is the Ligier, which is also a car that doesn't have a too big wheelbase, and it's also very agile and can work very well here. Other cars instead are going to be suffering a lot. One of them is one of the top contenders, which is the McLaren, because that's a car that it's very understeered. It's very solid, very easy to drive, but it's not the quickest around here. I've been practicing with him a bit, and he was struggling big time to really push the McLaren around the corners here. As for the Williams, it's a very nervous car, so it can work here, but that nervous nature, even if it can help getting it around the corners, it's certainly not going to make life any easier for Dave Miller, because it's going to be really exhausting over the whole race. This track is completely full of gear changes, of braking, accelerating and all that, and if you've got a car that is too nervous, you're going to be really stressed with that, and any loss of concentration here, you're going to pay dearly for that.
We're on board right now with Miller, who won the last race at San Marino. Interesting that you would say this car's nervous, because from the outside it doesn't appear to be in terms of wheelbase. It looks pretty like a standard wheelbase car, not very short, but is some of that nervous nature to do with the Honda power plant?
It's got, I think what's going on here for this car is that it's very responsive. So when you are going over the limit, the reactions that it has are quicker and somehow more strong than what you get on other cars. So if it's obviously a car that has very good downforce, so if you are going within the limits of the car and you're not like pushing for the absolute limit, then it's going to be more or less planted, because it's a powerful and very high downforce car. But once you're really pushing it, and if you're starting to get sideways in the corners and that, it's complicated to recover it, and it gives you very quick reactions. You really need to be on top of it.
I'm curious also what you think about the Ferrari team, what their chances are here today.
Well, both Nilsson and Coxon are really high quality drivers, but I believe that in this case, no matter how good the Ferrari is, especially for Nilsson, he will be driving here with a calculator in the mind. I mean, I'm pretty sure that his objective will be basically to score as many points as possible and not get into trouble, because as I said before, this is a race that you need to look at this race from the perspective of the championship already. If you're on the fight for the championship, as Nilsson clearly is, then the last thing that you need now is to end your race here against the barriers and see one of the other challengers getting closer to you. So I'm pretty sure that Nilsson is not going to do anything stupid here, is not going to push the car, and also being confident that track position is important and you are not going to get overtaken that easily. He's basically going to cruise around safely, and just only if towards the end of the race he has a chance of scoring higher or whatever, then he's going to go for it. Coxon, on the other hand, he needs to really start moving something if he wants to put a bid for the championship. So he might be more aggressive here. But on the other hand, he might be a bit like, well, having second thoughts because of the problems he had in the last races. So who knows? I think he's going to adapt to the circumstances, but he's going to have a more aggressive approach than Nilsson.
Well, you just said that, and he ended in the barrier just in practice here, but yeah, it'll definitely the clock is starting to tick for Coxon. He's not had a great start to the year, and I'm sure that that's weighing heavily on his mind. But Nilsson definitely, I think, is going to be taking the long view. Ryan, what are your thoughts as far as cars that are uniquely suited to this race or not?
Cars that are not suited to this track, I would probably say the Brabham, just because trying to get that thing round the turn 6 hairpin from the laps I done during the week was just an absolute nightmare. It was like trying to get a tank around there. So the Brabham, I would say, is probably not suited to this track as much. But I think when it comes to cars that are suited to this track, I would probably say, from the testing I've done, I would probably say that the Benetton's probably the one to have.
Yeah, the Benetton, and I know, oh my goodness, as we say that, Jake's destroys the back end of his Benetton in the swimming pool. I've driven the Benetton in the test race, and I can tell you that it is a very nimble car, and you do have the other thing that you need around here, which is an engine with a lot of grunt. The BMW's got a lot of power. And I wouldn't be surprised if you see a really great finish from one of the Benettons today, if not both. The driver that's really opened my eyes and made me sit up and take notice in qualifying and in this warm-up session, Vadim Tasiak in the Tyrrell, who is on track now, put in a fantastic performance in qualifying and looks to have pretty good pace now, gentlemen.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, we haven't talked about the Tyrrell. We have talked about other cars that suited that, but the Tyrrell also could be a car suited to this track. As for the Benetton and other cars that have the BMW engine, the only problem I think they might encounter is that it's a very peaky engine. So when coming out of the very slow corners here, that might lag a bit behind until they get on the power band. But the Tyrrell, that one is on the Renault engine, which is very good already from the low and mid range. So I think that's what's helping him. And also the fact that it's also a very small car. They got here the 015, which was the model that was intended to be for the whole season. But the team had to debut with the 14 of the previous season updated. But now they have the good car, and I know Vadim was very happy to have it, and he said he felt that it was a very good car that suited well to his driving style. So far it seems that certainly that's being the case.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be interesting to see how he does once the green light goes on. I mean, qualifying is one thing. Setting an incredibly quick lap is one thing. Surviving Monaco is another thing. So we'll have to keep a really close eye on him and see how he does. But it's certainly piques my interest.
And then there's the tire situation.
Yes.
Because fuel is going to be a non-factor here. We know that the cars are not going to even use the whole tank. This is so therefore one of the few races, I think even the only one, where we might actually see the cars not starting with a full tank and not having to really economize on the fuel. But in any case, since cranking up the boost is probably going to only give you more wheel spin, it's not as if that's a big loss. So they are basically running the engines and with as much power as the chassis can admit in this low grip track, because it's obviously just a street track. But the tires, well, here's something where you can actually gamble a bit, because obviously soft compounds are what are needed here, because you need to keep them at the temperature to get them to work, and you also need as much grip as you can get away with. But then again, you need to think of the whole race, and we are going to see here either no pit stop or a single pit stop. And I guess the cars that are going to use soft tires are going to try a once pit stop strategy, but we might be seeing people, and I think that's going to be the ones who really got a good qualifying. I expect them to see on mediums and probably trying to make the race without any pit stop. And the logic for that is that track position is so important that if you can avoid any pit stop here, you might as well hold behind you the cars that are on softer tires if they are not able to overtake you, and then without any pit stop even get a lead of 10 seconds on them. So that wouldn't surprise me to be the strategy from Wilkes, who is known to take very much care of the tires, and maybe someone else at the front does. It's still remains to be seen what Grant is going to do, but knowing Grant and his all-out style, it wouldn't surprise me much if he puts very soft tires and tries to get enough of a lead to open a gap that is enough to pit stop and not lose the lead.
Well, there's a lot of possibilities there, and it's going to be really exciting to watch, both from where we're sitting in the booth and I'm sure at home on YouTube. So we've got about 10 minutes to go here before the race commences, so we'll pause right now for our commercial break. We'll be right back after these messages. Don't go away.
Now, photography enters the computer age with the revolutionary new Canon T70. Computer programmed to give you all the answers with total push-button control. Auto loading, auto wind on, auto wind off. That's the incredible Canon T70. So advanced, it's got to be simple. Canon Formula One cameras.
There's only one Formula One Grand Prix race run in this country. This year, the car that won it was powered by Renault. I mention this because we've just brought some of that competitive thinking to the street. Renault GTA. I consider it another Renault victory.
There came a moment when all the elements came together, unleashing a superbly equipped new breed of compact car, the Dodge Shadow. With 2 or 4-door availability, affordable price, a $550 protection plan, the new Dodge Shadow is going to cast a giant shadow across America. Dodge setting new standards of performance.
You know, there's lots of reasons I bought my new Toyota Celica. In the daytime, it's the 16-valve 2-liter engine. And at night, boy, do I look good. In the daytime, it's 135 horsepower, makes me feel real special. And at night, boy, do I look good. In the daytime, Celica's front-wheel drive helps me handle the road. And at night, boy, do I look good.
The Toyota Celica GTS.
For anything more, Toyota.
What's it like to play the Nintendo Entertainment System? The Nintendo Nintendo Entertainment System. Now you're playing with power.
When you start something good, everyone wants a piece of it. Take light beer from Miller. Now there's lots of light beers out there saying they're less filling. Heck, that was the easy part. The hard part is brewing a light beer that tastes great. That's why Light's always brewed only with the finest ingredients. To let all that great beer taste come through for guys like you and me. The taste that's made light beer from Miller America's favorite light beer.
Hey, I always thought it was easy opening cans.
When Domino's Pizza delivers, quality comes first. We custom bake each pizza with carefully selected, skillfully prepared ingredients. Taste the quality. One call does it all.
Since the title Gasoline Fuel Economy Champion was first awarded, one manufacturer has dominated the competition, winning a remarkable 8 out of 13 times. Presenting the Honda Civic CRX HF, one of the best in its field, again.
Now at Renault and Jeep dealers, new low factory financing on most new Renault models. 7.5% on Renault Alliance convertibles and sedans, on Renault Encore hatchbacks. Or get a check from the factory for up to $700 and get 7.9% financing on the all-new two-wheel drive Jeep Comanche. Save up to $1,384. Don't miss this limited time offer. See your Renault and Jeep dealer today.
Sweet dreams you can't resist. N-E-S-T-L-E-S. A dream as sweet as this. N-E-S-T-L-E-S. Creamy white, dreamy white. Nestle makes the very best. N-E-S-T-L-E-S. Sweet dreams you can't resist.
And we are back. So 4 minutes and change to go. I would say probably this is one of the circuits where the change between quali set and race set is more dramatic than at any other place. Maybe I'm way off base on that. What do you guys think?
Well, obviously, because it's the weight in these slow corners is going to make a lot of a difference. Remember that the cars here go very slow. And that basically means that the wings are not working that much, nor is the underbody. So you don't have that much grip from the aero part. It's everything mechanical. And when everything is mechanical, any kilogram of extra weight is going to be very noticeable. We're going to see that's going to become very obvious how the cars, as they get lighter toward the end of the race, are going to be much quicker. And also people are going to be probably attempting more risky maneuvers.
One team we haven't talked about much is the Haas team. We've got Jules Bouchard on the screen right now. The Haas team now is running with Ford engines exclusively. Prior to that, the team had split a Hart engine and a Ford engine between the cars, but today the blue oval graces both cars. What's that going to do to their game plan?
As far as we know, the Ford is a much better engine and it's got more mid-range torque. So it should be helping them a lot here. It's the engine that actually the car was designed for, and they were waiting for this one since the pre-season, but it came late. So they had to struggle on the first Grand Prix with one of the cars having that on the other engine. But this time both have the famous V6 Ford engine, and well, hopefully it should make a difference. But I think it's going to be more of a difference in the next track that we are going to see, Spa, because that's a very quick one.
And you can see here, we're looking on board at Jules running around. You can see the very complex controls just above the steering wheel there, the two knobs on either side, which I assume are the boost knobs, one for each bank. Which strikes me as funny. Why would you want two different adjustments? One bank to the other. Maybe, I mean, can you envision a situation where you would want to adjust one bank different than the other one?
I'm not sure if that's actually the boost pressure.
Oh, it's not? What do you think it is?
I'm
then?
not sure, I know, but I can tell you, if you can adjust things like fuel mixture or whatever separately for each side of the engine, it could make sense just if the engine is not running properly, so that you could balance it again.
So if there is an imbalance, you can make a correction. I see.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, because in a four-banger, obviously, you've got just that single line of cylinders, but here it's a V-shaped engine, it's a V6. So I can imagine that if one of the sides is not working properly, you have imbalance, and that's going to cause you problems.
Well, one interesting thing I'm noticing here is that we've got 25 cars on the server at the moment, and it was my understanding that only 24 would start. Do we have any differing information on this?
No, but it's likely that there is always a reserve driver. So if there is any kind of problem at the moment that the race starts, he can jump in, and if not, he will leave the server.
Well, on that subject, the driver who qualified for the last position, and by a very narrow margin, was Simon Watman, driving the lone AGS in the field. And Simon's a guy who loves to drive unique vehicles and usually shows up not having done as much practice as other people, but I think it's pretty impressive that he was able to struggle with this thing to get it onto the circuit. We'll see how he does in the race itself. I wonder what the AGS is like to drive around here.
Well, it's certainly not going to be the easiest car, but as we have said, downforce is not the most important thing here. Well, it is important, but I mean, it's not working here all the time, so I think in the quick sections it's going to be more dangerous and more like scary than other cars, but when you are in the really slow ones and hairpins and all that, it's not going to be really that much different from the other cars. The thing with this car in real life was that it was constantly a bet of what would give up earlier, be it the engine or the wheels falling off or the gearbox or whatever.
All right, so predictions, gentlemen. Who do we think is going to win this race? Because we're down to zeros on the clock.
Come on, Ray, you go first.
Yeah, I'll go first. I'm not sure, but I think if I was to go for a driver that's smooth and keeping out the wall, I think Anders Nielsen is the one that could win this race.
Alberto?
I think it's hard to bet against Grant here because he's got the pole, he got the talent, he got a great car, there's no concerns with the fuel. But I'm going to bet for the old folks, for Richard Wilkes, because I'm pretty sure he will have something up his sleeves in terms of strategy and probably be able to outsmart Grant.
Well, I'm going to go with Wilkes as well. That's my thought is to, again, it's like, I think Grant is going to be quick, but I think over the long haul, I think Wilkes may have what he needs. Although we've seen what can happen when you put two competitive guys like Grant and Wilkes, in the same space in a very confined one. So, well, maybe not one as confined as this, but we'll see what happens going forward. My money is on Wilkes. All right, so the cars are now coming onto the grid. And yes, indeed, Simon will be the last car on the grid. So we are down to our 24-car limit. 78 laps are on the board. Sit back, relax, and enjoy our recreation of one of motor racing's crown jewels, Grand Prix de Monaco. And there goes the car of Grant Riddall off on the parade lap. He is on the pole for XLIV. Second, Richard Wilkes for John Player Special Team Lotus. Third, Vadim Tasiak in the Data General Team Tyrrell. And that's a very impressive performance. We'll be keeping a close eye on him in this race. Fourth, Tim Hilla in the other JPS Team Lotus car. Fifth is Anders Nilsson for Scuderia Ferrari. Sixth is Richard Coxon in the other Ferrari. Seventh, Dave Miller, winner last time out in the Cannon Williams Honda. 8th is David Jakes, Benetton Formula. 9th is Juha Boss. We talked about how the McLarens have been struggling around here, but he was able to qualify in the top 10, so who knows? Maybe Attrition will help him get to the front. 10th, Brian Janik in the much maligned Brabham, at least around these turns. 11th is Gabriel Del Piccolo, Benetton Formula. 12th, Cesarius Lipinski in the West Zach Speed entry. 13th is Jules Bouchard in the first of the Team Haas Lolas. 14th, David Saber in the other Data General Team Tyrrell entry. 15th is Adam Hackman, Cannon Williams Honda team. 16th, David Yunt, Barclay Arrows BMW. 17th, Ray Radal in the other Equipe Ligier entry. 18th, Bruno Paggiola, Minardi team. 19th is John Team in the other Team Haas entry. 20th, Mike Olson, West Zach Speed Racing's entry. Car number 14, I believe, yes. 21st, Bruno Chacon in the other Marlboro McLaren MP4. 22nd, K.O. McHeels in the other Brabham BMW. 23rd, Michael Drexler in the other Barclay Arrows BMW. And in the lone Jolly Club AGS, at the very tail end of the field, is Simon Wattman of Sweden. That is your 24-car grid. As, good timing, we're at the Rascasse, and here comes Grant Radal pulling his car up onto the grid. And of course, he'll be wanting to sit there as little as is physically possible. So he's coming up at a real crawl. He's still getting some air through there, albeit very little. But he wants
back of the grid is still on the swimming pool, now coming out of it. So Grant needs to take it easy and so that nobody cooks the engine in the grid.
I had read somewhere that there was one instance where Senna was stuck in first gear going around and on the parade lap, and it caused some people to cook their engines as a result because the timing to the grid wasn't good. But of course, that's not a problem here. As the cars are getting sorted out, we have a difficult time seeing the back of the grid here because, well, here we can see it now. Okay, Simon is just about ready to pull up, and once he does, and once he comes to a stop, it'll be time to send starters orders forward. And when Grant's name flickers, we'll know we have starters orders. It has not yet. This is a long hold. This is not good. Engine temperatures will be climbing. Is it possible someone... Oh, there is starters orders. Okay, stand by for the start of the Monaco Grand Prix. And the race is underway. Excellent getaway by Grant as they head up now to Saint-Devote. Oh, he's got a great start as we head into the first turn. And looking here to make sure everybody gets through with no trouble. It looks like everyone's being very careful heading in. No barbecues so far.
Very safe start also at the back of the grid. Everybody threaded there very nicely. K.J. McKeel's now on the move up. Just overtook Mike Olson and is now after Michael.
Yes, Wilkes is now in the lead. Grant Radal is in second and Tim Hillett in third as they head to the station or Lowe's hairpin for the first time. And there's that iconic shot we all love.
So Grant was basically, he made a small error and Wilkes was able to overtake on the way up to Casino. And that's going
that's K.O. McKeel's losing his front wing just at the entrance of Lowe's hairpin. That's not good. And look at this. We got a battle for the lead already. Wilkes fending off Grant Radal as they head into the Nouvelle chicane.
And
large.
No, sorry. I missed having a look at the tires in the grid. I'm going to try to have an idea of what they are running, but it wouldn't surprise me, as I said, that Wilkes is running actually a harder tire than Grant is running. And that means that Grant is going to be desperate to really get by.
Down to the Rascasse for the first time, and Richard Wilkes will be in front when they come around here to complete lap number 1. And here they come through the start-finish area. Richard Wilkes in the lead, Grant Radal in second, Tim Hillett third, Vadim Tasiak holding his own in fourth, and he's still, looks like he's challenging Hilla. Hilla bounces his car off the Armco, so Vadim may have a chance to get back to third here in a second.
And Michiels just made it into the pits and is going to repair the front wing. Luckily, there doesn't seem to be suspension damage, and luckily also he wasn't caught by the leaders, so there was no interference in the race.
Riding on board now with Vadim. Oh, he locks up the right front as they head into the station or Lowe's hairpin. And you can see it's still very tight at the front here. Grant is not letting Richard Wilkes get away. Grant is the meat in the proverbial JPS sandwich here. Look at this. Vadim's got a bit of a roll on Tim, and Tim may be driving with a crippled car here because we saw him glance off the Armco at Saint-Devat as they head into Nouvelle Chicane. Something to keep in mind, and I think you alluded to it, Alberto, is that Vadim is running that same Renault engine that the Lotus team are running. So,
yes, there is parity on that because I think there was no real factory team. Well, obviously Lotus might have been privileged, but as far as I know, the engines are the same.
Into the Rascasse once again. About to complete lap number 2. Wilkes leads. Grant Riddall in second. Tim Hill is third. Vadim Tasiak fourth. Coxon is fifth. Nilsson sixth. Grant has gone into the lead. Let's have a look at a replay of what happened here. This is going to be a challenge all day long, is keeping track of this stuff. He just got a better...
coming out of the tunnel and into the braking area.
Well, no, he got alongside on the main straight and just powered his way by. I think that was Boost doing part of the job there, but Grant goes into the lead. Heading now down to the Mirabeau. Back to live action.
And I wonder if Grant's going to do the same thing that he'd done at Jerez, where he basically got by people and used the boost to get by, and then once he got in front, just cause a bit of a train.
And we've got Ferraris running 5th and 6th respectively. So we'll see what happens with there, but the Ferraris, I think, had a very safe start, which is more than can be said for most of Richard Coxon's season, but definitely I think it'll be interesting to see how the Ferraris do as things get settled down here. You can see Tim Hilla just ahead there. Yes, Vadim Tasiak is now up to 3rd place, so it looked as if he was faster, and he's actually pulled out quite a distance now on Tim Hilla, so I'm starting to wonder if Tim got any kind of damage from glancing off the barrier there. What do you guys think?
Well, it's hard to tell, but if there is any damage, it certainly doesn't seem to be affecting much. I was looking at the tires in detail, and I can tell that Wilkes is running on the soft compound. I don't know what Grant is running, because on the Pirellis you cannot see that as well, but we'll have to stay tuned to that when he does his pit stop.
Riding on board now with Dave Miller, who's 7th, and he's closing in on Anders Nilsson. This is a battle for 6th place. He's another guy. I mean, he was kind of a dark horse last time out, and he won the race. So I think it'd be foolish to not pay close attention to the Williams team.
Yeah, I think we were all surprised at Imola that Dave came through to win the race, considering I think the amount of times he was using the boost as well to get by him. But fair play to him, that was a great drive by Dave at Imola, and he went on to take a well-deserved victory and pretty much left the rest of the field behind.
Wilkes is still staying with... Oh, look at that! Very close to overtaking Hilla was Richard Coxon. They're climbing all over him, so I'm starting to think that Hilla might have a problem because cars are queuing up behind him now.
And I can't believe that Kejo Mikil's still in the pits. I mean, well, it's probably some really heavy damage for the suspension.
It has to be something very significant, something more than just. But it looked like a very low-speed brush with somebody as they were going into the hairpin. So I don't know. Maybe it was something far more serious. But you can see here how the Renault power is helping Tim Hilla get away here. But he's definitely struggling on the slower corners. Oh my goodness, Coxon misses a shift and Nilsson goes by into 5th place. So that's another thing that we're going to have to watch for. People are going to have to be very gentle with the gearbox around here because the gearbox certainly takes a bashing here more than other circuits.
Yes, and hitting the rev limiter too much is going to cause a lot of engine damage.
Into the hairpin once again, and you can see Miller climbing all over Coxon now. So Coxon's going to have to be careful here. We'll see what happens as they exit the tunnel. Maybe Miller can get a run. Grant continues to lead. Richard Wilkes and Vadim Tasiak, top 3. Look at Grant looking up the outside there, trying to find a novel way around at the chicane, but doesn't quite get it done.
And even if the speeds are slower here, you can't ignore that there is still the air effects on the cars, which means when you're coming to the quick zones, like going up the top to Casino or down in the tunnel, you also have washout from the car in front.
Oh, certainly, yeah.
Yeah, don't be fooled by appearances. Just the fact, oh, Mikia's coming out of pits now. So don't be fooled by appearances, because the fact that they are going slightly slower than many other tracks doesn't mean that they are not having big problems when following the cars. So I think that's also the reason why Wilkes has left some distance with Grant, because as you can see, he doesn't actually lose him. He just set a cushion between Grant and himself. And Vadim Tasiak, I'm not sure if he's also trying to do the same thing or if he's really trying hard. He looks, I mean, the car doesn't look too much out of shape, and he's following very nicely the Lotus. But this is a situation where they are probably at this point in the race more hoping for any error on the part of the other driver than really trying to press him. I think they are all happy to get away from any pursuer, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, that's 4 starts in this series now where we've seen very minimal contact, and I think that's pretty amazing, especially considering the circuit we're at today. I think everybody is probably heaving a big sigh of relief that they got through the first couple of laps without any trouble, and we'll see now if they can do some real racing.
Right, out of the race.
Oh, and Miller has now just gotten by Richard Coxon. He managed to sneak his way by. I think Coxon had kind of a poor exit of the Nouvelle chicane there, and Miller saw his opportunity and went for it. Let's take a look at a replay of this. As they're coming through the tunnel, oh, I see what happened. There was a bit of a bulky situation with McKeel's in front, and that's what caused it. Yeah, Coxon was slowed up a bit, and Miller saw the opportunity and went for it, and that's what you got to do sometimes at Monaco. Take advantage of it.
Yes, Keio is now suffering from the blue flags big time.
Yeah, he's got
he
blue
tries
flag
to find
syndrome.
his rhythm again, but the leader were already catching up on him. So let's see if he can basically join Brian Janik and let him be towed.
Yeah, Vadim is in an excellent spot here in 3rd place. I mean, who knows what can happen here? I mean, you've got 2 of the very best drivers in the series in front of you, but, you know, a lot can happen in 78 laps. Who knows? There could be a pit snafu, there could be a miscue with a back marker. If he keeps his nose clean, if he drives a clean race, who knows? Who knows what could happen? Another Tyrrell situation I can think of from the past that was unlikely but very welcome and very interesting. Remember the run that Stefano Modena had in the Tyrrell at Monaco in 1991. He qualified in the front row next to Senna and was in 2nd for a bulk of the race until his engine let go in the tunnel, taking him out and Patrese out, who just unfortunately was right behind him. So Patrese had a Ryan Walker moment there, didn't he, Ryan?
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
Sorry.
But yeah, I know what you mean. Monaco is one of those tracks that it can produce great results and unexpected results, but also on the other hand, it can be kind of heartbreaking when you're doing well. And yeah, I remember that race as well with Modena having a good race, and unfortunately, Patrese came through and was basically just caught up in that incident.
Yeah, there's not much you can do there. So now it looks like Vadim is closing in a little bit on Wilkes here, so maybe he's cranked the boost up a shade, or maybe conversely Wilkes is just kind of easing back and letting things kind of shake out for the moment. He doesn't want to get into a one-upmanship battle with Grant, the likes that we've seen at other circuits so far this year. But look at him, he's right with Wilkes now, so we could see a battle for 2nd place here in a second. Vadim, a very fast driver, not one that's given to being patient. We've seen him have some pretty high-profile accidents early on in some races, but I don't know. This is his chance to really flip the script on that. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. In my mind, he's the one to watch so far.
Nilsson getting by Tim Hille finally.
Ah, well, that's not surprising. I figured that would happen at some point. Yep, there he is. Nilsson finally by, and there's a bit of a gap back to Miller and then Coxon.
Yeah, they both opened the gap. I don't know if it's a matter of Miller and Coxon have been fighting among themselves and getting well, it's a gap there between them. But there is certainly a cushion. But Miller seems to be cutting it back quickly now, after having dispensed with Coxon.
Well, again, we're gonna have to keep a very close eye on Miller because. Again, we didn't have him tapped to do all that great, or really, well, not all that. I mean, we didn't have him tapped to win San Marino, and he made us all just go, "Whoa, where did that come from?" So, I think.
And
we'd be
Grant
foolish
is
to
coming now to the first lap cars. He's now about to meet Simon Watman on the track. So let's be watchful here because anything can happen in this situation.
Yeah, this is not a simple matter of lapping cars at another track that's wide or has a lot of runoff space. This is very serious. Oh, Tim Hilla out of the race. Tim Hill has just come up as a DNF. Let's have a look at a replay of what happened here. This is the replay you're looking at heading down.
Oh, Coxon and Jake side by side in the tunnel. Now that was risky.
Oh my goodness!
Trying already the position of Coxon for some time, but I would not have thought.
No, this is interesting. I'm looking at the replay now. We're looking at the replay of Hilla. Nilsson spins out in front of Hilla at the station hairpin. Miller gets stopped for a minute. Everybody ends up going, and Hilla actually retires there. He decides not to continue. Maybe he just decided he didn't want to keep going, but that's really bizarre. But there was a total bottleneck in front of him at that point. Very unusual for him to just quit out like that. But in any case, yeah, Grant is still leading, so he dispensed with Simon Watt with no trouble. It's still the same at the front. Grant Riddall leads. Richard Wilkes is in second. Vadim Tasiak is third. Nilsson fourth, so he was lucky to survive that situation and still maintain fourth. Fifth is Miller. Sixth is Coxon. Seventh is David Jakes, who's closing in on Coxon. This will be interesting, and from what you were saying earlier about the Benetton, Ryan, this will be interesting.
Yeah, they were side by side in the tunnel in the previous lap, and Jakes is starting to get antsy behind Coxon. And all of them, all this train of cars, is now catching up with Anders Nilsson quickly.
Well, Anders is probably still trying to get his rhythm back after that after that incident at the station hairpin. So coming out of the tunnel now, that BMW is a very angry note heading into Nouvelle Chicane. We'll have to keep a very close eye on Jakes as well, because he's the kind of guy who would sneak up through this race. I was talking to him the other day about his performance in the USAC race, Texas, and how he schooled everybody on the final pit stop. This is a guy that you never want to count out in any race. I don't care where he is.
Yeah, David's always been one of those drivers that's he's always been handy in an open wheel car, on ovals, on road courses.
Oh, look at this! Ooh. Now there was a bit of I think it was awkward getting by Simon there a little bit, and that gave a little bit of an opening, but Coxon did an excellent job. Sorry to cut you off there, Ryan. Go ahead.
No, not a problem. I was just saying that David Jakes, he's always been quick in open wheel cars, like on road courses and ovals, and at the moment he's having a good race, and 7th place at the moment with Benetton, but currently putting the second Ferrari of Richard Coxon under pressure.
Yeah, very much under pressure, and he's got Juha behind him here. So, as much as Juha wasn't having fun qualifying his McLaren, here he is in the top 10, and
Yeah, but look, Coxon is making a bit of a bottleneck for this because Anders Nilsson is now running away from the three. So it's either Coxon has some ill-handling car or is not really happy with how it's working. But in any case, Jakes is really starting to get desperate because he doesn't want to lose contact with Nilsson.
Yeah, I know. This is the part where things start to get hairy. Is it's one thing to be stuck behind somebody and still be moving at a decent pace. If you see the cars in front of you getting away, and you're like, God, the longer I stay here, it's not like the USAC series where you can depend on maybe a yellow coming out and closing the field up. Yeah, you can see he's getting very impatient. He wants to get out from behind this scarlet red car as quickly as possible. and he senses that there may be a problem there with Coxon's car.
Yeah, and going up the hill to Casino, you can see that the BMW is much more powerful.
Oh, he
than
might
the
have a
Ferrari.
shot here coming into Santa Monica. Oh, man. He thought about it, but that was probably not the best spot. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him try another overtaking opportunity either at Mirabeau or at the exit of the tunnel. But look at him here trying to get by at Massenet. This is not a typical overtaking spot, and Coxon,
Well, he's basically trying to force Coxon to block one of the sides of the road
Yeah.
so that he feels, and you can see that in the car, be it the way it's set up, or as you pointed out before the start of the race, that it's very nimble and agile car.
Yeah.
What he's trying to do is make Coxon block one of the sides and use the speed of his car, the nimbleness of his car, to quickly move to the opposite side and try to put the wheel in there.
Well, it looks like Jake's had a poor exit of the Poitiers there, because now suddenly it's Boss who's right next to
Well, I
him.
think he overcooked a bit the tires
Maybe.
in the previous laps, trying to put some pressure on Coxon, and now needs to cool them down a bit.
Yeah, you can't just continually attack at the circuit. So here they come through. They're completing lap number 12. There's Grant leading. Richard Wilkson second. Vadim Tasiak maintaining third. And then we've got a pretty sizable gap back to Anders Nilsson. This is Drexler coming through here, so we're waiting for Nilsson. And waiting. Here he comes now. Nilsson in fourth place. Miller in fifth. So a pretty huge gap between, I think that's probably just reflective of that incident that happened at the hairpin earlier. But Wilkes staying right there with Grant, keeping him in shouting distance, and there's Tasiak again. So very, very interesting Monaco Grand Prix thus far. Everyone doing an excellent job staying on the island, as it were. Any surprises so far? Is this the script that you guys would have expected thus far?
Well, at the front for sure. The rear, you can always find some oddities or things that were not as expected, but that's normal because those cars are usually more traffic and many things can happen there. Right now we have Brian Janik there being chased by Cesarius Lapinski, who is coming very hot from behind. But there is also a bunch of cars that are there fighting it out. It's interesting because there is like a bit of a traffic jam behind. There's Jules Bouchard, then Gabriele Del Piccolo, and then the group of Team Saber and Junt. And all of them, they are running pretty close there. So
yeah, this is an interesting grouping of cars back here. The other Benetton and the Haas team. He's in a Haas sandwich now. As now Saber, under braking, is trying to catch John Team. He's in the other Tyrrell. Both of them in 015s this race.
And this is something really complicated because on one hand you want to be close to the car in front so as to put some pressure on him and be able to capitalize on any error, but then again any error is usually, as we saw with the case of Tim Hille, going to leave the car on track. It's not as if you're going to crash into a barrier 30 meters away from the track. So if you're really that close to the car in front, you could actually pay dearly for that because he could take you out with him.
Oh, we want to welcome also Chief Wiggum is in the chat once again. We appreciate him tuning in to watch these races and, of course, all of the great work that he did building these cars. And Chief, we're getting a lot of good reaction from people on the forum. They like the cars, and certainly in the chat here, they're remarking about how good they look on track. So, again, thanks so much for your involvement and modeling expertise. The proof is definitely on our screens right now.
And Wilkes got now the worst part of lapping Bruno Chacon, and Grant was able to make up for some distance. Hopefully that's not going to hurt him later on. But
Bruno
now makes it safe.
Well, Bruno did a good job there of letting Vadim by.
Yeah, he did, but there's only so much space in this track. Oh, Simon Watman is pulling out.
Oh, no.
What's going on here? Is the 0 RPM, so that seems to be a dead engine.
Yeah, he's coasting around through
and
the
Kelly
Massenet.
has also quit the race finally.
All right, so that's engine retirement, it appears. Very unfortunate for Simon. And we have David Yunt backwards at the Rascasse. Well, not backwards, but he was kind of backed up into it. But it looks like the car is okay. Let's have a look at a replay of this. What transpired? Looks like a single car accident, but we'll see. Oh, it's just too much power at the wrong time is what happened. But uh-oh, Adam Hackman lost a wing abiling him there, so that there is one casualty in that instance. Adam trying to do evasive action, clipped the barrier by the Rascasse and lost his front wing. So that means he's going to have to go to the pits. And things are heating up between Del Piccolo and Bouchard for 11th place. It looks like the BMW Power is definitely closing in on Jules Bouchard in the Haas Lola Ford.
Yeah, Gabriel is sandwiched between the
two
cars now. So he needs to be careful there, because if he is not able to dispense with Bouchard, he could find very quickly how John Dim is all over his rear end.
Yeah, he's definitely biding his time here. I think he's just waiting for the right opportunity.
And Adam Hackman is still running without the front wing, and he's in for the pits very soon. Now at the swimming pool.
Yeah, we haven't ridden on board with him much, but he's got Olsen in front of him now.
And Wilkes is now getting close to Grant again, and I think that shows that what Wilkes is doing
Oh,
is
goodness, a car just spun out right in front of our leader, Grant Renault. It keeps going. My goodness. And there's a traffic jam now. Wilkes is backed up. Vadim Tasiak is backed. I'm like, that could have been far more serious. My goodness. Let's take a look at a replay of what happened
good
here.
move by Mike Olson there, quitting as quickly as he could.
All right, and here it is. Yeah, going into the corner, Olsen, similar to what happened to David Yunt at this corner. Too much power, exiting. The track is blocked. It's a miracle that nobody lost a wing there. And then Wilkes is stopped. Vadim is stopped. And they all get going again with no damage appreciably. The only real outcome of that, yes, of course, Olsen's out of the race, but the other impact is that it brings the fourth place cars, 4th, 5th, and 6th, a lot closer. But grief, that was a close escape.
Yeah, it does, and it has given Grant a lot of breathing room, because just as the incident happened, I was about to say that Wilkes has shown that he was able, after, remember that when both lapped Bruno Chacon, I said that Wilkes got the worst part of it, but he was very quick in getting behind Grant Riddle, and I think that shows that he has a lot of pace up his sleeve. So he was basically leaving himself a cushion between Grant and him, but now that cushion is 5 seconds, and we will see if Wilkes is going to overheat the tires and punish the car a bit more to get again close to Grant, or if he's going to just lay behind. Because it's important, because, well, we're still far from any potential pit stop, but it's a seizable gap now. It's up to 6 seconds.
We're back now looking at the battle between Del Piccolo and the Haas team. He is now in a Haas sandwich. He's got Bouchard in front of him, team behind him, and coming up quickly behind team is David Saber. This is getting quite interesting here. But I think Olsen did the best thing he could have done there and just quit out at that point. But it's a miracle that everybody got through that unscathed and in the same order. And here comes Del Piccolo looking for a way by Bouchard. Doesn't find
And
it
Adam
on
Hackman
Rasmus.
seems to also have retired.
Well, he must have found that the damage he had was more than he thought, because he did clip that barrier with his tire, not just the wings. So it may have been that the suspension was too poorly deranged after that. Who knows? Yeah, look at this now. Juha and David Jakes and Coxon running right together at the hairpin now into the Poitiers. This is interesting. Jakes He's probably going to want to get out from around. Well, yeah, he's been frustrated with Coxon for some time. Now he's trying to get the power on before they get to the Nouvelle Chicane. And no, Coxon protects the inside line. Nothing illegal about that. And he's doing the same thing here, actually.
Oh, Jake's going for it.
Oh, no, Jakes goes the outside, and he looks like he's going to take the position. That was interesting. Now he's on the outside going in. Is he going to get through? Yes, he is. Jakes takes the position. And now Juha looks like he's going to try to take the position away from
an opportunistic
Coxon.
move there, trying to benefit from Coxon not getting a clean exit of the corner, but it's not going to work apparently.
That was an interesting chain of events because it looked as if Coxon was almost ceding the corner there, but now he's coming right back. He's got the boost on, and he goes right by Jakes, back into sixth place. Fantastic.
One of the most frustrating things that can happen to you, be half an hour behind another driver, that to overtaking, finally manage it, only to lose the position again by an error.
Good grief.
Yeah, it's again a mountain to climb for Jakes.
Juha coming very close to the outside barrier there at Massenet. He's going to Jakes almost losing the back end of the car, coming down the hill towards the Mirabeau. My goodness.
Before he got some damage.
That's a heart stopper. You don't want to do too many of those in this race.
Yeah, I think Jakes might be frustrated a little bit when he missed that shift because it was a brave but brilliant move by him on the outside of Coxon, and Coxon is not the easiest of drivers to get by. He'll make that car as wide as possible.
Yeah, meanwhile, Miller is basically running by himself, and then you have Nilsson in fourth. The top three still running about the same. Grant has pulled out a 6-second lead on Richard Wilkes.
Yeah, it's pretty much the distance that he got in the incident with Mike Olson, so it's not as if he's running away with the race. And like I said, Wilkes has shown that he can get closer if he wants. So I don't know, maybe he's waiting to see what happens when the half race comes and see if Grant is going to stop. I know from the tires that Wilkes is running softs, which probably means that he should be stopping, but I don't know. He's very good at conserving the tires, so we will see.
Up the hill, Beau Rivage now, and we're looking at Coxon here, and definitely Coxon is struggling up the hill here. I don't know what's going on there because that's where he should be on the power, but David Jakes was closing precipitously. Now the run down to Mirabeau. David doesn't quite have a shot here, but very definitely it looks like Coxon is not, at least it doesn't appear the car is performing at its very best. So we're going to have to watch and see if Jakes can find an opening at some point here. Coxon's been doing an excellent job of not blocking per se, but just maintaining his line and just making his car a little bit wider at select points, and that's really all you need to do at this track to stay in front of somebody.
Yeah, and Jakes really needs to score points in the championship, and Coxon is now in the 6th position, which is the last points paying one. And as we know, 1st, 3rd, and 6th are the positions that are most coveted, the ones that produce the biggest fights.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, clipping there slightly the barrier.
Yeah, you can feel the frustration watching this onboard camera. So we're 20 laps into the race now. So we're not, if anybody's going to make a stop, it's certainly not going to be soon.
No, it should be around lap 35 to 40.
That's what I would think too.
2 stops, I don't think that anybody's going to do
that I don't think that. And look at this, you can see.
Again.
You can see how much he closes when they go up Beau Rivage and then into the Massenet.
There's no question about the BMW power once the car is on the power band, but the problem is that I think part of the problem that Jakes is having is that the BMW is very powerful, but it takes that snap of a second to get into the power band, and that's enough for Coxon to run away. If they were at Spa, Jakes would have been by, well, a long time ago.
Into the tunnel once more. Yeah, he seems to... it's clear that the weak point for Coxon is Beau Rivage and Massenet. That's clearly where he's slowest on the circuit. But the problem is there's not really a spot at the end of that section where Jakes can capitalize. All he can do is basically run up on him. So it makes for good TV, but it doesn't get him the position he wants.
No, certainly not.
The Raskas restaurant. The old gasworks corner. As they are overtaking Bruno Pagioli here now.
And it seems to be today an evening of frustration for both Benettons, because Del Piccolo is also still behind Bouchard, clearly quicker than Bouchard, but unable to get one.
Oh yeah, he's bottled up there behind the Haas Lola. And,
it's a shame that we cannot see the true pace that he could develop here, but Bouchard is driving very well today. He's very swiftly. I mean, he's not making any dirty moves or whatever, but he's being able to keep a steady rhythm and block the track very well. So, very frustrating for Gabriele.
That Ford engine showing some decent acceleration too, and coming out of the final turn.
Yes.
So that might be part of the problem.
Yeah, it has good traction because the Haas is a very good chassis, and coupled with the Ford engine, it now becomes a quite good midfield contender. So even if the Benetton should be slightly superior to that one at this stage, because the Benetton is going to improve over the season, but in this confined track is more than enough to keep another car behind.
So put yourself in the shoes of oh, there's Jakes, then they're breaking away the car once again. Put yourself in the shoes of Jakes, Ryan. You're frustrated, you want to get by. How do you keep a cool head in this situation? Because this can put you on a one-way road to an accident.
Yeah, I think if you're getting frustrated, then you start overdriving.
Look at Jakes now, look at Jakes.
Oh, look at this! Looking up the outside, but no, that's not the preferred way. Go ahead, Ryan, sorry.
I think around Monaco, being stuck behind someone, that you're fast enough as Jake goes around the outside.
No, there he goes! Jakes
the
gets by.
outside into...
Well, that was where he was quick. Lap after
very
lap.
complicated place to overtake, very good move.
Here's the
We'll see
replay.
what happens now.
He almost got it done, and look at that, he just powers right by.
Coxon looking for some angle coming out. He will be trying to make the move now in the tunnel, getting the cleanest exit possible, but I think he has nothing to do against the BMW engine here. Look at that.
Yeah, he's checking out now. Yeah.
Sorry, Ryan.
Yeah, I was just saying that, yeah, being stuck behind someone around here can be frustrating at times, but you don't really want to start overdriving or making mistakes, because if you start overdriving behind someone, that can bite you and you'll end up on the wall sometimes. But luckily, Jake's managed to get the move done up the run up the hill after turn one, and that was a great but brave move.
And as
Miller,
we were talking, I see that Coxon has clipped the barrier once or twice there. So it seems to be a bit frustrating for him also. He's been trying to follow Jakes, but he doesn't seem to be able to.
Well, meanwhile, Miller is really trying to close the gap between himself and Nilsson. He was coming into Raskas at the end of the last lap, just white hot. I mean, right on the brink of adhesion. He is trying really hard right now in that Williams. And he's got a ways to go to catch up to Nilsson, but he's got about a 5-second gap, but we'll see what happens here. You can see Nilsson just there exiting the picture, going through Poitiers now, and Miller's exiting the hairpin complex. Riding on board now with Miller in the angry-sounding Williams.
And Del Piccolo really suffering a lot of frustration there, because the car is clearly quicker. He gets very quickly to the back of Bouchard, but Bouchard is driving the very steady line, and Del Piccolo basically runs.
Oh! Black smoke there coming from one car. Yes! Bouchard blows his engine out of the race. My goodness.
Well, that's going to be a big relief for Del Piccolo.
And Bouchard goes straight for the escape road. Very sportingly, does not want to get anybody else involved. Barbecue for Bouchard, that's too bad.
And now Del Piccolo finds himself finally free of the of Bouchard, but also rather close to Cesarius, who is in 10th position. So we'll see how this pans out.
They got Bruno Chacon between them right now.
Yeah, although with blue flags, he should be moving away very quickly. Jake's now opening a bit of a gap with Coxon, now that he can show his real pace. Although it depends on the part of the track.
Yeah, Ślepinski, who drives the Coyote in the USAC series and has one win there this year. Still trying to find his legs in the F1 series, but having a good run here so far in the top 10.
Oops. Grant Ridal bottled against David Sabre, who had Spoon. And I was about to say that Wilkes was 3 seconds just behind Grant Ridal, but now he's directly behind it.
Let's have a look at a replay.
Wilkes now trying to make a move there.
Oh, goodness.
Past David Sabre, but Wilkes was there looking for an opportunity, and Grant had big reflexes there, because coming out of the hairpin, there was a yellow flag, but coming out of the hairpin, there was the car of David Sabre completely sideways there. Dave, who also recovered the car very well and moved out of the way, but that was enough to have Grant stop completely in the track, and Wilkes absolutely on his rear immediately.
Yeah, look at him now. He's right with him and sees a definite opportunity, and that's the second time Grant has been balked in traffic by somebody. So that's going to start
and
to
in
wear
the same place.
And in the same place, so it's going to start to wear on his nerves. He's going to start to get gun-shy, at least in that corner, but good grief. It just shows how, you know... Look at this!
Look
Here
at
it comes!
Wilkes.
Oh, my goodness! Oh! Whoa! That was so close! Grant almost has it out of... Oh, my goodness! He shortcuts the chicane.
Yeah, the car was completely out of shape.
He almost, and he's letting Wilkes by. Is that a sporting move on his part, because he thinks that?
But I think Wilkes hesitated because he thought he could not get he should not get the position. But when he saw Grant back in, he decided to go for it.
Let's look at the replay. Okay, they come out of the tunnel. The question will be here: Did Grant change his line? I don't know.
No, I think he was looking for angle, because this is a very tight chicane.
Yeah, he was trying to get positioned properly for the chicane.
He probably didn't expect
But look
Wilkes
at this.
to be there.
His car is all out of shape going into the chicane. It was a miracle he was able to get it slowed down as much as he did. And then he did the sporting thing, it looks like, and let Wilkes go by into the lead. So, my goodness. But this is not over yet. Everybody's heartbeats can come back down now. Wilkes leads again for the second time in this race. Grant Ridal's second. Vadim is in third place, probably tactically the smartest place to be right now. Not involved in this skirmish, but look at Grant. He's staying right with Wilkes. Man, Grant had that car all out of shape going into the chicane. It was fishtailing back and forth.
Yeah, and Wilkes seems to have cranked up the boost a bit now.
No, but sitting behind Grant at that moment, seeing his car fishtailing, that would have been a very
complicated situation.
Very
now
scary.
They found a lapped car here in a very difficult section. They're going to be bottled behind.
Yeah, look at
will
this.
Move to the outside.
Right
very
together
good move by Bruno.
Yeah, Bruno did a very good job of getting out of the way there in a very difficult situation.
Whoa,
So,
look at Grant there.
Look at Grant now. He's coming up the inside. Is contact going into the final turn. My goodness, the gloves are off here in Monte Carlo.
Yeah, Grant didn't have that position completely, but Wilkes is not someone who is going to let himself be intimidated, I tell you.
No, Wilkes is not going to just go, oh, after you, sir. He's definitely going to protect his line there. We've seen that he's a driver who will do that sometimes to his own detriment at other courses, but at this point it's like...
Yeah, very much like the true Ayrton Senna.
Yeah. Yeah, so he is driving a very appropriate car if that's the way he's going to attack this circuit and protect his line. But yeah, absolutely, this is a very interesting scrap. And we've seen from other people the contacts they've had. It doesn't take much to derange a suspension here, so these two may be on pins and needles for a lap or two.
Yeah, and Grant is giving himself now a bit of a rest, it seems to me.
No.
And he's probably trying to gauge what the pace of Wilkes is. Although he must already know, because the distance between them before the incident when he had to stop in the track had already shrunk to 3.5 seconds, which means that Wilkes, as I said, had something up his sleeve and he can go quicker than he was going. Question now is what Grant's going to do about it, because I can see that his car seems to be much more out of shape than in the case of Wilkes. So, as I said, I haven't been able to read his tires to know what kind of compound he's using, but it could very well be that his tires are starting to give some signs of...
Here's Jakes once again having to overtake Coxon, and he does so into the swimming pool. Apparently he slipped back behind him.
And Nilsson
again.
is into the pits. Nilsson is into the pits.
Nilsson making the first
And
tire stop.
This is too early for a normal pit stop, I would say.
Well, lap 28.
So, soft compound for him in the front, medium in the rears. Is this a normal pit stop? No. This is taking very long.
Jakes
this is
goes
taking very long.
ahead and is dropping now to 8th.
And this is going to cause him some trouble in the championship if he's not able to score here.
He better shut that engine off.
No. There are some repairs they're doing.
Yeah, he better shut that engine off.
If people forget to disable the repairs when entering the pits, to tell the pit crew not to make repairs, I think 99.9% of the cars today have cruised the wall. So there's going to be some attempt to repair from the crew.
That's one thing that we absolutely have to make sure of in a race like this, or any race. If you don't want the car to spit, the paddock team or the pit crew to spit shine the car while everybody's streaming by like we see right now, then you got to turn that off.
And Grant now is on attack mode again.
You've got a back marker ahead of them as well.
Yeah, that's probably what Grant has seen and was trying to put some pressure on Wilkes at that moment.
They dispense with the lapped car easily. That was Schlapinski. You definitely have to make sure, and for those of you who are watching who do not run these races, oh my goodness, there's contact between Grant and the back end of Wilkes' car. I don't think there was any conceivable damage there. Both.
Juha Boss is also signaling the bits now.
Okay.
No, he's not going in, but he signaled the bits and he's staying behind Coxon. I wonder if he sees that Coxon is going very slow and is going to try to overtake before entering the pits. Because Coxon seems to be really crawling now on the track.
Man, Grant's got to really watch it now. He's starting to overdrive the car in
and
some
Nilsson
spots.
is still in the pits and has fallen to 14th position.
Yeah,
now he's coming out of the pits. Let's see what happens now. Because
now that he's lost a full lap.
Yeah, this is going to be very, very heavy hit for him. As I said, in the championship, you gotta think about the championship.
Yeah, the repairs being turned off is a critical thing in any of these series. It was what did in David Saber at the
Grant now. Oh my goodness, he's really like going for any possible gap there. And if I was Wilkes, I would certainly not be comfortable at all with this situation, because Grant seems to be essentially playing chicken now.
It's certainly he's certainly testing the limits of what he can do. Now, I don't know, he's at a point now where he may try to overtake. Ooh, having a look at Mirabeau, but not in a place where he could really get purchase. Now coming down to the hairpin, and Wilkes very wisely protects the inside line, but look at how close those two cars are.
It's going to be hairy this time around the tunnel and coming into the hairpin.
Oh man, buckle up.
I just have a feeling that an accident is going to happen.
No, you just have this feeling that something is in the offing. It certainly has that premonition kind of feeling. Hopefully we're wrong, because I'd love to see a straight up fight with these two right to the end. But let's see what happens. No, the point I was making before, maybe I can get it out this time. The notion of turning off that repair, it can be very hard to remember to do it, but you've got to do it, because if you don't, the pit crew's going to be spit shining the car while you lose all kinds of time and position on the track. That was what did in David Saber in the Coors 200 just last Sunday, because, as look at this, here comes Grant. He's having another look, but nowhere to go there. Had David not had that pit menu snafu, he may have actually finished fourth or better. Here comes, so something very important to look at Grant taking that really wide line into Massenet.
Yeah, I think he was trying to trick Wilkes into covering the other line, but Wilkes
Deal him
knows
a
very
dummy.
well this
Oh,
track
this
run.
is an interesting path. He's going the outside. Well, he didn't have any.
Wow. That was shutting the door on someone, if I ever saw it.
Yeah, it's
I
Wilkes
think
is,
these two got a bit hot-headed
yeah, they
after
need to calm
the
down.
contact that they had. And then it's not as if, well, not just gloves are off, but I would think that there are also some knives below the table.
Yeah, I would think so too. But it makes me think that these tires must be absolutely just like superheated at this point. And if they're planning on going the whole race on these tires, they might want to think twice about keeping this up lap after lap. I'm glad you pointed out to start out with that fuel is not really a concern here, because that takes the boost question out of the tape, out of the. Oh goodness, you can see him get really squirrely there as they brake for Rascass. But we'll have a look and see. You know, we need to keep an eye on their to see if the wrench icon comes on for either of them.
So Coxon is now able to torture Juha Boss for a while, because all the cars that are coming behind him seem to be a bit quicker. I'm pretty sure that Coxon's car has some damage, but his
Has
slick
to.
driving allows him to stay in front for a lot of time. So he's going to give nightmares to a lot of people today.
Yeah, he's got Juha seeing red now, although Juha's got his wrench icon on. Maybe he hasn't pitted yet.
He hasn't, but I don't know if this is
Oh, Coxon.
Yeah,
Well, Coxon
there
had a
he
bit of
goes.
a loose moment there, but yeah, now Juha's in the pits.
There
making
was a
his
yellow
stop.
flag there, but I think it was caused by. And what's this? Jakes is going. No, okay. No, sorry. I thought Jakes had come out of the corner very slow, and I thought he was slowing down, but that's not the case.
Juha still in 7th place despite his stop. We're waiting for Janik, who is being shadowed by, well, Nilsson out of the picture now. He's in 13th place, a lap down, so that's not a battle for position there. Poor Nilsson, I'm sure. I mean, you know, it's got to be really gut-wrenching to have that happen. Okay, now Brian Janik is in the pits.
Yes. There was like a yellow flag in that sector one moment ago, but every time a car slows down to go into the pits, that's a yellow. And now let's see if Wilkes can put Drexler between him and Grant Riddle at the top of the hill. Woof! It was tight there. My goodness. I mean, they are really, really like...
Drexler in a guest drive for Arrows today.
And I think that Grant has now reversed the tactic, and instead of trying to overtake Wilkes, he's basically trying to push him to go much quicker, and so to basically either make an error or destroy the tires. But look at that, Grant is signaling pits now.
Okay. You had mentioned too that the Ligier is quite well suited to Monaco because of the design of the car and its wheelbase and everything. Another track that we may see it do good at is Detroit,
Yeah,
which is very similar.
so.
Which is very similar to Monaco. And
Yeah, although Detroit is wider, I would think.
not much wider.
Well, depends on the place. Huh?
Yeah, saying that Detroit is a little wider than Monaco is like saying that.
There goes Grant for the pits.
It's like saying that Las Vegas is just a little bit cooler than Arizona.
Yeah.
Here's Grant in the pits now, and this is going to move Vadim Tasiak up to 2nd place now. I think this is the highest he's been in a race this year, maybe the highest he's ever been in an ISO race in his career at ISO or at the other league, maybe.
Interesting, and Grant is using medium tires.
There he goes, exiting the pits.
Yeah, which is quite interesting because he has stopped for the medium tires despite well, I mean, with medium tires you could think that he would be able to do the whole race, and I mean Wilkes is on softer compound than him, so either Wilkes is going to stop also, and then this randomness in the pit stop times can play a role, or Wilkes is going to struggle big time at the end of the race, because it's not just that he has soft tires, but that he has been on a very long battle with Grant, and his tires are certainly going to be not happy about that.
Well, Wilkes is due for the pits now. He's got a wrench icon, and so does Vadim Tasiak. So both of our first and second place cars are going for the pits this lap.
And Grant entered the pit so quickly that he overtook Wilkes, who was on the main straight. He overtook him in the pits before stopping, so go figure how seriously Grant took this one.
All right, so in comes Wilkes. He's taking on his tires now. There goes Vadim into his pit stall. He's positioned a bit ahead, so technically Vadim is in the lead
Here
right
comes
now.
Grant to the last turn.
And now
Wilkes
Grant
still in the
is...
pits. Wilkes still not moving.
There he goes.
Cryogenic.
And
There
Vadim
goes
is
Wilkes,
moving.
and he lost it out in the pits.
Vadim has beaten Wilkes out of the pits. Remarkable.
It was a very long pit stop.
Very long. Incredible. So now we've got Vadim ensconced in second place. Grant back in the lead again. All three of these cars on fresh tires. Look at Wilkes. He wants that second place.
Yeah,
now.
Because if he is bottled behind Vadim, then Grant is gone for good, and he won't be seeing him in the rest of the race. So Wilkes is going to make a move here in the tunnel. I'm pretty sure of that.
Well, we'll see what happens here. I mean, Vadim has been driving most of this race.
Luckily for him, Grant seems to be a bit bottled in traffic now, but he cannot afford losing too much time behind Vadim.
Yeah.
Oh, and he came out pretty bad out of this one, so he's not going to have that chance now, because obviously Vadim is cranking out the boost and he's happy as ever to get that second place for now.
Yeah, Vadim is definitely in a position right now where
Lots of traffic in front. Grant had been bottled.
A lot of traffic. Yeah, all three of these cars on cold tires, so they're going to want to be very careful. Yeah, there's a bunch of cars in front here. You got John Team and Brian Janik immediately in front of Vadim. So he's going to have to find a way by quickly, and those are cars that have a lot of power, so this is going to be a bit more challenging than you would think, although it looks like John Team is making room. He does. And now, this is a situation that I'm sure Wilkes is not happy about. He's got a car placed between him and, well, okay, Team makes it the same courtesy that he did for Vadim and lets Wilkes go by.
Yeah, but what a change, because Wilkes was concerned with keeping the lead, and now his main concern is trying to fight for the second place.
Yeah, and to catch Grant. And like you said, fuel is not a problem here, so Grant cranks up the boost and drives away. It could be a pretty serious situation, as we're now looking just ahead here at Janik and Drexler, and Vadim is now bottled behind these two. He's looking for a way by, and both of them make room. That was quite nice of both of them, and in a very difficult spot, I might add.
Del Piccolo now in the pits. That's the second peloton.
So, Ryan, if you're in Vadim's cockpit, what's your game plan for the rest of the race?
I'm not sure what I would do, to be honest. I mean, you're in with a chance of finishing second and on the podium, but on the other hand, you've got Wilkes, who I think is probably quicker than Vadim. I think if Wilkes gets a run in Vadim, I think Vadim should just let him go and try and settle for third.
Yeah, keep in mind that all three of the top three cars are all running the same motor. But look at the closure rate there of Wilkes. He's definitely faster in a straight line as Vadim has a slow exit there. I think this is Wilkes' chance. Yes, it is. Wilkes goes back up to second place. Vadim drops to third.
Yeah, he needs to make up now 7 seconds of deficit. Although, as we mentioned, Grant is on mediums, Wilkes is on softs. That means that Grant is being harder on the tires than Wilkes, which is no surprise given the driving style of each one. But also means that Wilkes obviously has more pace because he can make those softs work better. So it's now a matter of seeing if he can keep the trend that he had before and being able to reduce the gap on his own, on his wheel. And it's going to be quite interesting to see because the cars obviously change over the whole race. We haven't talked much about the temperatures today because, as we said, the tires didn't play a big role here, and we are seeing that even the people on mediums are going for a stop. But still, the changing conditions of the track and the evolution of the fuel getting low play a role. And I don't know if we mentioned this before, but in the case of the Lotus, there is a special device that the car has on board that is activated on the first pit stop and that lowers the car. Now that it has less fuel of load of fuel. So let's see what the pace of Wilkes is now.
Yeah, historically, Lotus had continued with a hydraulic system which could be adjusted by the driver to affect ride height, front and rear. So it'll be interesting to see if I don't know how much the mod reflects that reality, but we'll see.
Yes, it does, because not in a constant way, but in the pit, once you do your pit stop, you can lower the car.
Miller exiting the pits. So yeah, that's something that if that's something that Wilkes can do, then that'll be an interesting dimension to add to this race. But Miller exiting the pits in 4th place. Jakes is in 5th. Coxon 6th. So kudos to him for still going with a car that frankly is probably not driving very well. 7th for Boss. 8th for Del Piccolo. 9th for Brian Janik. 10th for David Saber. 11th is David Yunt. 12th, John Teen. 13th is Anders Nilsson. And he is basically a lap down, more or less. Oh no, actually, he's being shown completing 37 laps around lap 38. So maybe with the pit stops, he's actually on the tail end of the lead lap. Paggiola is Paggiola 14th. Bruno Chacon now exiting the pits is 15th. And the last car running on the circuit is Michael Drexler, who is 16th. We can probably do one of our trivia questions now if you would like. Yes, no? All right, well, I'll go ahead and do one because we have 2 we got to get through here. So the first trivia question tonight is, who won the first post-war Monaco Grand Prix held on May 16th of 1946? Was it A, Giuseppe Farina, B, Louis Chiron, or was it C, Alberto Ascari? Okay, time's up. What do you guys think?
I have no idea. I think Chidon wasn't racing by then, so I would say, just for the sake of him having the same name as me, Alberto Ascari.
What about you, Ryan?
I'm going to go for A.
Correct. It's Giuseppe Farina, which means that which means that Alberto was wrong once again. Unfortunately.
But I give you a chance to use those nice wrong buttons.
Yes, you did. Thank you. So attrition definitely becoming part of the race here, but not quite to the level we would have expected. There are 7 cars on the lead lap right now.
Yeah, well, we're only half race.
And we're only half race, so and 16 cars still running out of the 24 that started. So it'll be interesting to see how many are left at the end here, but Grant definitely doing all he can to put distance between himself and Wilkes. Wilkes is
They are
some
both
6 seconds
really-
behind.
They are both really hot lapping now. I mean, the distance is 8 seconds. At some points, it shrinks to 7, then it goes up again, depending on the part of the track where each car has an advantage. But you can see that after the incidents that they had before, Grant is certainly by no means willing to get involved into another close quarters battle with Wilkes. He's
Bruno
not
Pet-
going to left that win to the randomness of dicing in such a close quarters battle.
Bruno Paggiola exiting the pits now after what I'm assuming is his one pit stop in the Minardi. He's in 14th at the moment.
Juha Boss getting a bit close now to Richard Coxon. Coxon was much quicker in the pit stop, and he bought himself a 4 seconds distance with Boss, but that one is shrinking now quickly. And well, Coxon is again in 6th position, so Juha Boss is obviously going to try his best to get that position, because if they were fighting for like 8th or 9th, well, that wouldn't matter much, but in this case it's points that are at stake.
Yeah, it's and this is a critical position too, because it's the last points paying position.
Oh, Cesarius Lapinski is out of the race. I missed that one.
Oh
no! Yep.
Shoot.
I'm not sure if it was an engine thing or what, but
Might have been. We'll be able to tell when we look at the results file later. But yeah, it looks like Juha's got the measure on, and here's a interesting bottleneck. Drexler, well, he's trying to move over here. Oh, look out. See, this is the difficult part about going up Bon Rivage. And de Massenet is, I don't think Drexler knew that Juha was going where he did. But it's really hard to make room for anybody there because the track is constantly meandering back and forth. But that could have gone a lot worse than it actually did. The only thing that really happened was that Juha got held up for a minute.
Five seconds now the gap between Grant and Wilkes. So it seems that whatever Grant was doing, either Wilkes has upped the game or Grant is not being able to keep up that pace. Let's have a look at the lap times. Maybe it could have been also... Yeah, well, Grant is alternating quick and slow laps, and I think that's due to getting traffic. Must be that.
Yeah, it's because they have been running into
But
traffic seemingly every other lap.
Wilkes did a blistering quick lap in the previous one, and he was like half a second quicker than what Grant has been able to achieve so far. 1:27.7. Whereas in the case of Grant, the quickest lap has been 1:28.5. Nearly 6. No, well, that's nearly a full second. So, as I said, Wilkes has the pace, that's for sure.
I was watching the actual 1986 Monaco Grand Prix, and it was won by Prost, but the performance of the race, in my opinion, was that of Rosberg. Oh, hang on, Nilsson out of the race. Anders Nilsson has retired from the Monaco Grand Prix, which definitely has championship implications. This probably happened too far back, unfortunately, but whatever happened there, that's going to definitely throw the championship wide open. My goodness.
Yeah, I wonder if Anders might have just been pushing too hard and clipped the wall.
Maybe. Meanwhile, the battle, or quasi-battle between Coxon and Juha goes on. What I was saying about the actual Monaco Grand Prix was that the performance of the race, at least from what I saw, was Rosberg's, because he had a poor qualifying in the McLaren and yet was able to charge right up through the field, and not in a car that he liked very much. And it really showed his, I mean, you guys know what have you guys seen what I'm referring to?
Yes.
Yeah, and I thought that was quite remarkable, because here's a guy who didn't like the car that he was driving.
Yeah,
was not
that was
designed
a car
for his...
designed by Prost and for Prost.
It was designed for Prost and Lauda, and understeered a lot. It was not the kind of car you can throw into a corner, which is what Rosberg liked to do. and yet here he was able to get past that and use the car to charge up and finished very well. I think he was like second or third by the end, but impressive performance.
My favourite memory of Rosberg at Monaco was probably, I think it was the 1983 race when he was ill with the flu, and I think the car was a non-turbo car at the time, and pretty much in the wet on slick tyres, I think it was, he pretty much left the turbo cars behind.
Mm-hmm.
And now here is Grant's response to Wilkes' quick lap of some time ago, because Wilkes did 127.7 and Grant is just showing him that he has nothing to be afraid of, because he did 127.1. So either he cranked up the boost, finally found clean track ahead or whatever, but Wilkes must, well, I mean, they are exchanging the blows in the distance, and this is something that usually the people who are watching on TV are not privy of. They cannot see that, they just see the cars lapping there. But this is a way that the drivers are communicating to each other, so to speak, because everyone sees the lap time of the other driver. So what Grant just did was basically telling to Wilkes from the distance, don't try to go for me because I'm quicker, as quick as you or even quicker. So if you want to push me, you will have to take risks yourself.
Yeah.
And they are basically sending message back and forth like that. And the answer or the reply from Wilkes to that has been to basically cut down the distance to 6.2 seconds. So it's going to be really hot if he gets there.
Well, if Wilkes is able to, I'm sorry, if Grant is able to carry this through, that's going to be incredible. It's going to be 4 different winners in 4 races in this series, and I don't think any of us would have predicted that going in. But there's still a ways to go. By my count, 32 laps or 33 laps to go yet. And even though we've made what is probably going to be the only pit stops of the race, a lot can transpire between now and the end.
It just seems to be Grant's not pushing as hard now. He's kind of just backed off a little bit, but with Monaco, I find you can't afford to back off too much, otherwise you can lose your concentration and your focus and end up making a silly mistake.
Looking back now from Richard Coxon's car, and you can see Boss there. Boss has broken off the pursuit for a little bit here. Probably was taking a breather, but he's definitely faster than Coxon. He's shown that in the previous laps, so it's really a matter of just, setting Coxon up if he can. But getting
Grant just clipped the hairpin, and now, well, he was lucky to lose the wing there, but he's now in the pit for repairs.
Oh my goodness!
Oh no!
Suddenly everything changes.
Yeah, he got distracted or whatever. That's not normal, but he needs now repairs.
Right there, he hit the barrier at Raskas.
Stasiak is going to go by, and I'm not sure. Well, because he obviously needed he obviously needed to keep the repairs on, otherwise he would get no front wing. And maybe the crew is at work now on the suspension, and this is going to destroy his race completely.
Now my inbox is going to be flooded with commentator curse BS. But Wilkes now leads the Monaco Grand Prix. Vadim Tasiak is in second. Grant Ridal is down to third.
Okay, Grant is
he's
coming out
exiting
now. Still in third position.
And he's going to exit clear in front of. He's going to get there to just barely. He gets to Sandoval in front of Dave Miller. Yes, KO says, Raskas, the cheese grater of Monaco. Yes, it'll turn your car into Parmesan Reggiano.
And let me see, because no, he didn't have the time to fiddle with the hood, and he has mediums on the rear. Oh, and I think I know what happened. He switched to softs in the front, and I think he was basically he entered the pit box too quickly, but he was trying to desperately change to softs in both front and rear, because now obviously with only some laps remaining, he needs softer tires and to be as quick as he can. But he was only able to change the fronts. So let's see how this affects the balance of the car.
The nose of Dave Miller's car says ICI on it, but it may as well say ICU because he's got a blue
Whoops,
leash
look at
right
that.
in front of him. Look at this.
Look at
He's
that.
going up
Grant
the
got
inside. There
sideways.
goes Miller. He takes third place from Grant Riddall.
And I think that's the imbalance caused by the different tires. I mean, he has now too much grip in the front and too little on the rear, so he was getting sideways quickly at the exit of the corner.
So there's going to be a lot of pom-pom and fist pumping in the Dave Miller fan club section.
Yeah,
Look at Grant.
Oh, here comes Grant.
Yeah, boost knob now.
Yeah, but it seems that the Honda also has one.
Yes, the Honda also has a boost knob. KO going further with my ICI launching. He says it could also say I see dead people. Yes, this is very serious business here.
This is going to be really complicated for Dave Miller. He has now one of the best drivers of the grid on fresh tires right behind him.
Right behind him, yes. Miller.
Whereas he has more worn tires. Look at that.
Look at the four-wheel drift there for Miller at the hairpin. But you're right, Miller pitted not too long ago, but his tires are just that little bit older than Grant's, so he's got a little bit of an edge less.
Grant's got the run now, but I think it'll be a brave
watch
move.
this. Watch this
here we
down
go.
the inside. Oh, but look at that. He shuts off way earlier.
Nah.
Grant. Dave missed his braking zone. Goodness. So Grant goes back into third place. Dave happily does not damage anything, but that was a game of chicken of sorts, I think. Goodness. Yeah, it is kind of a game of blinkmanship coming up to that. Who's gonna shut off first, you know? But I don't know. Dave, I think Dave has shown that he has a chance of getting third place here, but now he's got that space, so that's a huge load off of Grant's mind.
So the question now, Grant is 39 seconds behind Vadim Tatsiak, and we are 30 laps from the end of the race. So if he's able to pull a 1 second a lap advantage, he could get Vadim, although it's very complicated. But Grant now needs all the points that he can grab.
So the gap between Vadim and Richard Wilkes is 6.5 seconds. So I would think that, you know, it's a question now, I think, of Vadim. The smart thing for him to do would be to hold station, cruise home to second place, and hope that something goes wrong with
but
Wilkes'
don't forget
car.
that he's not in a championship fight, so he has really nothing to lose here.
That's
he has
true
proven
as well,
his speed,
yeah.
and why not fight for the win?
Oh
Obviously, he will only do that if he really thinks that he has a chance. It's not going to be something stupid. So first of all, he should be getting into striking range to Wilkes, who must be now taking things very easy because remember he has soft tires, so it's
True.
he cannot be destroying them stupidly, getting involved in that exchange of quick laps with Vadim. But Vadim also must know that he has nothing to lose in this race, but in the case of Wilkes, he has a lot to lose. So we'll see. I think that the first move by Vadim will be to try to go quick and see what Wilkes does to respond. And yes, Grant is definitely eating about 1 second per lap from them, because now the track, obviously with many less cars, is clearer in front of him, and he's doing, well, he has adapted already to the fronts of tires. Oh, but
Grant's blown up.
Look at that, the Ligier is smoking.
Oh no, Carbacue!
Yes,
Grant.
yes, the engine has broken.
Grant has retired from the Monaco Grand Prix with an engine problem. Oh, that's both
He
Ligiers
was
out of the
obviously
race.
hitting it hard there,
My
and
goodness.
the engine gave up the ghost.
So that advances. Oh, but look at this! Another engine is let go on Dave Miller's. Oh no! Fire at the back of Miller's Williams Honda. So engines are giving up suddenly at Monaco here. I wonder if this has any residual effect from the long hold on the grid. Gentlemen, what do you think?
I don't think that's
Oh.
the case. Oh, look at that.
Now it
Fire
really
was
ventilated. Oh
big time.
yes, now it's an inferno.
It's
Backdraft.
4th of July in Monaco
Yeah,
now.
yes, it is. Backdraft going on. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, well, like I said, this is a track where many things can start to shape up for the championship. And this is not looking well now for Miller. In any case, I don't think it was a case of the engines overheating in the grid. Not that, but it's a case of the nature of the track adds a lot to the drivers stretching the gears and hitting the red limiter, and that's what really kills your engine.
Angel May says she now knows why she heard more colorful metaphors in the next room, and that would be why, because the Honda gave up the ghost. But all of this development here has brought several people up into the points that weren't there before, or like a lot higher into the points. David Jakes is now running in 3rd place in the Benetton BMW.
And Juha was able to make it past Coxon. So
yeah, Juha's past Coxon now, and he is in 4th. Coxon 5th, but that is still a very close battle.
Yeah, those two are going to have all knives out for the end of the race, that's for sure. Because they're fighting, they were first fighting for the points paying position, they are now fighting for the podium, so...
Yeah, exactly.
They've been having a good reason to do the utmost over the whole race. But remember, in any case, we've seen several engines blow, and nobody has said that we are not going to see any more engines blowing, so stay tuned here, because this can happen to anyone, as we have seen.
Yeah, it's basically a lottery in some cases here. We really don't know what the engine life is on these, and we don't know how hard people have been pushing them. We don't have a count of how many times they've misshifted, which is very easy to do in these cars under normal circumstances, never mind at Monaco. So, something to keep in mind. Now, Cox has got a golden opportunity here because there's a bit of a bobble there with Bruno. But Juha got a good exit off of the corner. Yeah, and there's not really any place for Coxon to go here, but he is definitely harrying Boss. Now, look at this. They're going by Drexler here. And you can see how much lifting to shift there causes a kind of accordion effect between the cars.
Yeah.
And it's a little more than I would expect, but now coming down to Mirabeau. Right-hand turn, and now into the Lowe's hairpin.
Watch out, Vadim Tasiak is out of the race.
What? Oh, no! Vadim Tasiak is out of the race. Let's see what happened. That's a terrible blow.
Still.
Could it be another barbecue or carbecue?
It could be, because it seems that the car is completely...
No!
Disco.
It's a disco. Oh, that is really heartbreaking.
Yeah, he was having a great race.
That is really heartbreaking. I can't believe that. That's terrible. After such a fine drive. That's easily one of the finest drives that I've seen him do in this league or others, and to have it come to nothing like that is just, damn, that's a hard one.
So
that elevates Jakes to
yes.
2nd, yeah, and Juha to 3rd now, and Richard Coxon to 4th. Gabriel Del Piccolo will be elevated to 5th. Janik will be in 6th. So, people taking advantage of attrition here to rise up the field.
Yeah, and someone mentioned in chat this could be another repeat
and
of
Junt is also out.
Who?
Junt, David Junt.
Junt is also out. Good grief. It's funny. I would have bet that Vadim's DNF was due to. Let's have a look here. Nah, it's too long ago. I can't go back. But I think it's fair to say that most of these DNFs. It's funny that like a lot of them are. And yeah, Grant Riddall's dropping down into 13th now. So yeah, these DNFs are still sorting themselves out with other drivers who are further back. KO says Yunt got a shunt, and oh, that's just him being silly. Okay, never mind. Forget it. I keep forgetting that when KO is in the chat, he thinks that he's in the comedy room at a Vegas hotel. I'm here all week. Tip the veal. Try your waitress. That's what KO's doing in the chat. So Wilkes, Wilkes' gap back to Jake's is a whopping 55 seconds. So there's no reason why he has to turn the boost up at this point, let alone do fast laps. So the smart thing for him to do is to just cruise home at this point, especially given all the barbecues we've seen recently. And Jake's is in front of Yuha by 8 seconds, so that's a pretty sizable gap too. Del Piccolo is about 33 seconds behind Coxon. So all these cars are pretty spread out right now.
Yeah, and all this is going to help the Benetton team big time in the championship, in the team championship.
Yeah, because when we look at the point standings, they are 4th right now with 10. And they are currently on track to get 2 points for 5th and 6 points for 2nd. So that would give them 18 points in the championship. Obviously, Scuderia Ferrari would also score points. Coxon.
Yeah, Coxon now lagging a lot behind Juha Boss. I guess he gave up a bit because he probably saw that he was also in the danger of a barbecue or hitting the wall stupidly.
All right, I think it's time for trivia question number 2 now. Okay, trivia question 2 was, there are 2 constructors with 4 Monaco Grand Prix wins total. One of them is Red Bull. Which is the other? Is it A, Bugatti, B, BRM, or C, Maserati? Time's up.
I'll give you another shot at the wrong button and say Bugatti.
What's your answer, Ryan?
I'm going to go for B.
You guys aren't going to believe this. Alberto is correct. It was Bugatti. And unfortunately, Ryan is wrong.
Yeah, get the wrong button.
You know, everything seems to be the best for me. Because I was sure before that it could really be Alberto Ascari, and it wasn't. And now I was sure that it wasn't Bugatti, and it was.
There you go. Well, anything can happen at Monaco. Oh boy. All right, back to the race. Juha must be really thrilled with where he is right now, given the lackluster qualifying he had. You said you were working on the setup with him, Alberto.
Yeah, we were trying to make it feel more comfortable for him because the car is obviously understeer and he was like destroying the front tires and not really happy with that. So at some point he settled for something that he was happy. Wilkes also lent a hand there. And well, here it's not much a question of being as quick as possible, but as being as comfortable as possible because you cannot be wrestling a car here for 80 laps. So.
No, it's tough. I remember I ran a race in the 78 mod of F1 at another league, and I was driving John Watson's Brabham Alfa Romeo. I finished 8th in the race, but good grief, it was not without incident. That was a hard car. That was a hard car to struggle around Monaco with.
Yeah.
So.
Wilkes taking it really easy now with lap traffic.
Yeah, well, why wouldn't he? I mean again, he's got an insanely long gap.
Yeah, but sometimes having to go too slow breaks your concentration. And look at Grant. I mean, it's incredible that he clipped the barrier and destroyed the car on his own. It's a very uncharacteristical driving error for him.
We haven't talked any about him in this race except to show his pit stop, but another driver that's proving to be very good at benefiting from attrition and driving a clean race, Bruno Paggiola from Brazil is running in 9th place right now.
Yeah, with that Minardi, I mean.
With the Minardi now, and who knows what we still have quite a distance to go here. He could rise even further, but a top 10 finish in that car would be a fantastic result.
Yeah, well, to be honest, right now everybody is top 10 finish.
Yeah, that's true, but you know, it's still
No,
he's got to keep it on the island. You know.
Exactly.
So I thought we'd give him a little bit of TV time here for his Brazilian friends on the chat as well, who are cheering him on.
Yeah,
here he is
this
making
week's
room
coming
for our,
now.
you know, here he is making room for our leader and also for Del Piccolo. Also doing a good job. Another Brazilian, Bruno Chacon, is in 10th right now. He didn't have the greatest of qualifying efforts here. He was like 18th or something on the grid, or 20th.
Yeah.
But here he is up in 10th.
Yeah, and so far also everything looking quite well for David Sabre. No major incidents in this race, and they're sticking it, which is nice because he had not been having the best of lucks here with the Formula One so far.
Yeah, well, that's exactly like what you were saying, Ryan, about, you know, people who sometimes do bad in other races or don't have the best of luck have better luck here. So there you go.
Yeah, but pretty much as well. But some people, like I said earlier, you might not see them up at the front, but at the moment there's some people in the top 10 are having a good race. The people like Pagiola, Chacon, and also David Sabre as well.
And John Team is in 7th place. Wouldn't it be exciting if the Lola Haas team could score a point at the Monaco Grand Prix with their Ford power plant? Of course, the race where the Haas Lola team is really going to want to do well is Detroit. Not only the home of Carl Haas, but also the home of their engine manufacturer, Ford, who will, I'm sure, have lots of blue oval brass down by the river for the Detroit Grand Prix, which is not as far away as you might think. It's in May, early May, when we're going to be having the Detroit Grand Prix, and I personally am just counting the days, sometimes the hours. And Brian Janik in 6th. Speaking of Detroit, the Detroit Demon, showing that he is perfectly able to deal with the issues that present themselves in this Brabham. You mentioned that it was difficult to drive around here, Ryan. Is that chiefly just because of the wheelbase?
Yeah, pretty much. It's just the nature of these cars and the wheelbase, like you mentioned. It's just plus having to keep your focus up for 78 laps is pretty difficult as well, because you've got to think of you're thinking about so much and trying to remember it all, and just kind of just keep telling yourself to hit your mark and not overdrive.
Yeah, and Del Piccolo looking very good in his Benetton. Yeah, like Alberto said, great points day for Benetton if they can keep both cars going.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's a bit too early because in this race anything can happen, but I'm really looking forward to see the championship situation right after this race, because like I said, this is the 4th race of 16, so we're essentially a 4th of the champion into this championship, and we should be starting to see things shape up for some people.
One guy that will be happy to do well in this race. Well, we talked about Cox, and now he might want to attack this race a bit more because of his lack of points so far. He finished the last race, but just out of the points after he had that spectacular flip in the San Marino Grand Prix, which was akin to the Mercedes CLR flip at Le Mans. That was one of the main comparisons I heard afterwards. You know, that was the first finish he's had in this series, and it was not a points-paying finish. So if he finishes in the points here, that'll go a long way towards restoring his confidence, I think.
Yeah. And it's interesting to see. I'm watching now Wilkes, and he's being followed by Gabriele. And I would go as far as saying that Gabriele is now going slower than he could, because, yeah, I know Wilkes is taking it easy, but it's interesting because I think that Gabriele's pace was so much hampered at the beginning by being stuck behind other cars. It's a shame that he didn't get a bit of clear track, because he seems to be progressing well with that Benetton. He really wants to overtake Wilkes now, and I don't know if Wilkes is going to let him by or not.
I've been waiting for a moment where Del Piccolo overtakes Nilsson in this series, just so I can whip out my Bobby Unser impression and go, there goes Fabi overtaking Johansson. But that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, Wilkes, look at that. I mean, he let him go.
Just let him go. What's the point?
Yeah, very sporting also.
Yeah, there's no point. If I had the gap to second that he had, I would let him go too. What is the point? Yeah, the laps are winding down here actually pretty fast.
I mean,
lap 61 now.
And in the case of Gabriele, what's going on here? Oh no, okay, he was low because he was in a section. But I mean, in the case of Gabriele, he's actually, let me look at that. No, he's 40 seconds behind Coxon, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
It's Coxon who is 8 seconds behind Juha. No, because I was thinking if he had even a chance, but it doesn't seem to be.
I got 34 seconds here.
Yeah. It's a big gap there. So it seems that nobody is really in striking distance of anybody else, but the attrition can still play a role.
Well, while we have a moment, let's talk about what's coming up in our ISO calendar. It's a busy month, March, for us. We have this race today. Next week, we're doing sports car racing, the second round of the 1984 DRM series. It's the 1,000 kilometer race at the Nürburgring, but we're going to shorten it to 500 for the purposes of of making it to work on Monday in one piece, and also
a nice Porsche 956 just became free. So if anybody
on
the is
in other news, the server has just crashed for our forum because as people jump on to grab the 956, what 956 became available. Is it one of the primo ones, or is it?
No, it was the one from Vadim, who doesn't seem to be today in the best of moods.
He might want to, that's. I understand why he's in a bad mood after what happened here. I would be too, but you can't be making decisions like that when you're mad, or when you're upset. Because I guarantee you, he's going to regret that he did that in like 5 hours. You watch.
Well, that's Porsche number 33 from John Fitzpatrick Racing.
Oh, I've driven that one before. It's a nice car. So that's what's coming up next Sunday at ISO. And then the following week, we go back F1 right away. So that's a pretty quick turnaround for this series, 2 weeks. Right away we go back, which means I think that the server for this track, we like to do it 2 weeks in advance. And that would basically mean that the server goes up after this race is over, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, Janik is out of the race. We missed it.
Oh,
but,
no.
Yeah, Brian Janik has exited.
Oh, and Michael Dressler is without the front wing, now heading for repairs. But still in the race.
Yeah, well, there's a part missing from Janik, so I don't think we need to call Lieutenant Colombo to figure out what happened here.
So that makes
right front wheel missing.
You were calling it some laps before. John Team is now in 6th position, about to score a point
there
for
There goes, yeah. John Team in 6th place for Lola Haas, Team Haas USA, the American entry in this series with the Ford power plant, my old employer, FOMO Co. And you can tell, I believe he's on Super Softs, correct?
Not sure. Cannot see that now.
In any case, I gotta say, I really love the cockpit detail in this car. It's beautiful. Let's take a close look here at the... oops, sorry, hang on. Move some stuff around here. There we go. Let's take a close look here at John Team's office. The personal wheel. And it looks like right here, we've got one of the sway bar controllers rear.
It's super soft for him, yes.
Yep. Rev counter, obviously. There's the I believe the fire extinguisher. He's got a personal wheel. That's the branding wheel. Gear shift on the right there. oil and water temp gauges and the boost gauge, which is not operating at the moment for our benefit, but I'm fairly certain that those two knobs are boost knobs. I could be wrong. But in any case, John Team finishing in the points would be a fantastic result in this car.
Yeah, I think you're right, and it's because the car had two turbos. Because
Yeah,
I was
it's a
thinking
twin
more of the
turbocharged.
kart. In kart, the rules mandated the single turbo, but yeah, there would be turbos here, so that's the case in the Lola, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is Tambay's Lola. You can tell by the blue and white helmet. Oh, as he runs slightly over the curbs there. But yeah, I'm sure that John is very ecstatic about this performance, trying to keep himself together.
So some reactions now in the forum, and Grant says that the engine blew for the first time this season, and he blamed his gearing. So he said he really ran risky here, so that's what happened to him. That he hit the limiter too much. We were talking about that, and it seems that to get a good pace, you need to keep the cars on the power bound. That's obvious. So if you want to be quick, you need short gears, and you need to push the engine to the rev limiter, because when you shift the gear, obviously you want it to fall again into the power band. So it seems that it was a bit too risky, and that was it.
So now we have 10 cars in the race. So your comment about everybody being a top 10 finisher is now absolutely correct. Oh, as Team glances off the barrier there, he's going to want to watch how many times he does that. He doesn't have too many more laps to go.
And Juha must be really, really delighted and taking it easy, because this podium is something that he was eyeing for a long time. And Coxon must be, I cannot imagine his disappointment right now, although given what happened to Anders, he might actually call himself lucky.
No, I think Coxon will gladly take this finish, assuming that nothing happens, given how at this point he's willing to take whatever he can get, you know, and then build from there.
No, generally everybody obviously who scores point has to be happy in general, but I think in this case the top 6 must be absolutely over the moon. First is Wilkes, who can consolidate maybe something there to mount a real championship fight. Then it's David Jakes, who with this second place, I mean, he hasn't had any victory, but this absolutely keeps him in the fight for the championship. Then there's Juha Boss, who was looking for that third podium place at least for a long time. I mean, that's going to be really a monkey of his pack. Then Coxon, even if it was not a stellar result, I mean, compared with the abysmal problems he has had in the previous races, well. Then Gabriele was also really deserving to score some points for some time. And John Tim, who must be absolutely over the moon with this one. So fingers crossed that everybody keeps it calm and they can make it to the end. Because they all have big reasons to do so.
Yeah, they do. We didn't finish talking about what we have coming up. The other race we have coming up 3 weeks from now.
Oops. And there's Bruno Chacon without any of the wings. Crawling back to the pits. I don't know what happened there, but he's very slow on track now.
Oh my goodness, yeah, he's
He needs to really move out now, and this in the tunnel can be dangerous now for any car coming.
Well, Drexler's 4 laps behind him, so he has no danger of losing 9th place. Assuming he can get back to the pits and fix the car, he should be able to keep rolling. But we'll see what happens here. He's still trying to get the car. I mean, this is the longest lap in motorsports if the car is not. And he very wisely pulls off and lets Coxon by so he doesn't get in the way. That's very smart by Bruno there. Now, looks like the car's crabbing, though, as we look at it straight on here. It's definitely, suspension is skewed on that car. It's more than just wing damage, so who knows, maybe Drexler will be able to elevate himself to another position here, because Janik, the next one down, is actually out of the race, so eventually Drexler will be in 10th place. So there's John Team overtaking Bruno as Bruno trips our camera near the pits on the other side. Causes a bit of a staccato image. And here he comes in now, and I'm guessing this is going to be a very long stop, and he would probably do well to shut the motor off for a bit. Wings go on, so we'll have to see what happens when he leaves, or how long it'll take, because he's got all the time he needs. Drexler's well, Drexler now just going by, so he's 3 laps behind Bruno now, but the question is going to be, when Bruno comes out, is the car drivable?
Yeah, well, Bruno is very known to be stubborn and hanging in there, and that has allowed him to have probably one of the best finish ratios in the whole league. So
Yeah, Drexler continuing on here, and a top 10 finish for him would be fantastic, because this is essentially a sub drive for him, driving the car that's normally driven by Remen. But he's got a ways to go if he wants to challenge Bruno for that position. He's probably seeing.
Well, he actually has already the 10th position, because the 10th position
and
is
now he's
Brian
got it. Sorry,
Janney,
you're
who's
right.
retired.
He's got the 10th now. You're correct. Yeah, sorry about that. He's got 10th.
It will be updated sooner or later when he
Sooner or
makes
later it
enough
will
laps.
be, but the question is, can he challenge Bruno for 9th? And it really is going to depend upon how long Bruno is in the pits.
Yeah.
So going back to what we were talking about before, the other thing that's coming up on March 28th, we go back IndyCar racing, and this is going to be the Gabriel 200 at the Kidney Bean. I'm curious, really quickly, Alberto, if you can tell me do you think that the 4-bangers will have parity here with the V8s?
Should be more the case, yes, because it's not the track. Well, that's the main stretch, but yeah, I would say that the 4-bangers have again a chance here. I mean, the slower the track, the better for them. But I was going to mention, because I'm looking here at the lap times, and watch out, because Juha Boss seems to be really on the move, and he's now only 5 seconds behind David Jakes and catching up with him.
Interesting.
I don't know what happened here, but David Jakes seems to have slowed down a bit.
Maybe Jakes is concerned about having a barbecue or something going on in his car.
Yeah, he's now speeding up a bit again, 129.9. And in the case of Juha Boss, yeah, 130. So it's a bit like, I don't know. Juha has been very constant on his laps, but David was really slowing a lot in the previous ones. But then again, with the Benetton, if the BMW engine isn't on the power band, it's really slow. I mean, it's a bit of an on-off engine, so that poses a problem when you basically want to go a bit slower and preserve the engine, because it starts going much slower. So you have to be all the time on top of the car and absolutely giving it the hammer, because otherwise it won't move at all.
Bruno still in the pits, affecting repairs. So if you're Drexler, you're watching that time come down and come down and come down, and you're just hoping, praying that you'll be able to at least get on the same lap with Bruno. And here he comes around now. He's going to be now shown as just 1 lap behind. But eventually he will advance to 10th place, maybe this lap. Yes, there he goes. He's now scored as 10th. 10 cars left running in the race, technically. Bruno's still in the pits, so we'll have to see what happens when he comes around. If Drexler comes around and unlaps himself, he will then be on the same lap as Bruno. And look at this. Bruno is in 8th place. Bruno Paggiola, that is. Saber in 7th. John Team 6th as before. Gabriel 5th. Coxon 4th. And Juha, we have to keep a close eye on the time here. It's 5.6 seconds now between Boss and Jakes. You think Jakes is fixing to respond here?
Yeah, he's going quicker now. It's in my hood it's 6.4 seconds, but the thing is that there's still, in my book here, there's still 9 laps to go, 9 to 10 laps, depends. And well, Jakes cannot relax, and if you relax, you might have a problem. But if you speed up, who knows what can happen to the engine, because that BMW has surely been hitting the rev limiter more than other cars. So it's not going to be a comfortable race end for Jakes, I tell you. He's in a good position, but it's like, well, and Juha knows that, obviously. He's trying to press him so that Jakes is forced to play Russian roulette, essentially.
And here comes Drexler off the last turn, and that puts him now in the same lap as Chacon. And oh my goodness, I can't believe it! His engine just let go.
Oh no!
On the main straight. That's incredible. So, well,
Pagiola's engine has given up also.
Oh no, we got 2 barbecues. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Pagiola's
that's
out.
Something that's
Drexler
really
is
disappointing, because coming so far and doing all the effort just to...
Bruno is still in the pits. And if he ever gets out of there, he in theory might be able to finish in 8th place.
Yeah, and watch out, because Drexler is again another BMW engine, so...
Yeah, that
I don't
makes
know
me
what
wonder.
Jakes must be thinking now, because Juha is only 5.5 seconds behind him. And well, Jakes, I can see that, because I'm looking at his cockpit now. He's nursing that engine. He's not going past 10,000 RPMs. So he still has like 1,000 something.
He can see
to
the
red
running
line,
order
but
just like we
he's
can.
it.
He knows that people have been dropping out, and he's going to go, these can't all be contact.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he's seen some smoke here and there. .9 seconds, so it's dropped a little bit again.
Yeah, Jakes occasionally is very clever at that. Occasionally he stretches the engine where it counts a bit to 11,000, but most of the time he's short shifting at 10,000. Because he knows how risky everything is now. I tell you, he's feeling very much under pressure. It's just that you don't see it because there is a bit of a distance, but Jakes, I'm sure, is not comfortable at all at this point.
Yeah, I think Jakes is. I think he's kind of getting that itch to try and go a wee bit quicker. But like you say, I think he's just worrying about his engine. And I think if Juha does catch up to him, what does he do? Does he let him go or try and fight him a little bit? I think it's 2 things that he's got to think about.
And Bruno's still in the pits. Unbelievable. Well, if he manages to get out of there, Pagiola may, in fact, actually finish ahead of him. Because he's lost he lost several laps to him prior. We'll see what happens. And nice to see that David Saber's doing well, because this shows that the Tyrrell performance here was not a fluke. He's shown that the car is an excellent package for these tight circuits, which should serve him well at Detroit and other circuits as well.
Yeah, I can right now think of others like the the Hungaroring.
Yes.
Which is also a very tight venue.
Yes, this Monaco Grand Prix is turning into a ISO production of Cheech and Chong's Up in Smoke. So, there Bruno's finally exited the pits, and he let Saber by there. It was a lap ahead of him. So now Bruno, who I believe he's 3 laps behind Pagiola, so he should be able to advance into 8th place before the race is over. So he just wants to make sure that he doesn't have any more off-course excursions. The gap is now 5.2 seconds, so it looks like it's not a situation where Juha can sustain an attack. necessarily, as he now comes up to lap his teammate.
Yeah, it's a fight in the distance. I mean, Juha doesn't have the pace to get closer to Jakes, but by doing so, he keeps Jakes on his toes, which is what essentially that's a way of fighting it out.
So this time by, there should be 5 laps to go in the Monaco Grand Prix. The order,
And I'm betting that Wilkes is thinking that these are going to be very long laps.
yeah, no question. Wilkes has driven a great race, harried early on by Grant Riddall and had some very scary moments, but at the end was able to survive a lot of challenges from a variety of, well, principally 2 people, from Vadim and from Grant. But here he is, like, appearing cool as a cucumber and making Alberto and myself look like Nostradamus in the booth, which is great. I don't mind being right about who's going to win occasionally.
Yeah, well, don't say it too loud because the race is not over, and you know
That's
your
BS.
message post
It's not, it
gets
doesn't,
flooded with
it doesn't, no, it doesn't exist. It's BS. God, Wilkes really dragging that left rear tire there. I'm surprised to see is that many sparks at this late point in the race with so little fuel.
Yeah, but I told you the Lotus has that device and has been lowered, so that's likely the reason for it. It's a bit of a rubber band effect between Jakes and Boss. Now it's down to 4 seconds.
Wow.
Yeah, but well, depends on the part of the track also. But yeah, it's
and traffic, of which now there is almost none.
Yeah, and I can see now Jakes pushing it, getting close to the barriers. But the gap is diminishing, yes. Maybe you have cranked up the boost button, I don't know, but it's now 3-point-something seconds.
Okay, let's keep an eye on it.
Juha's really giving it the most that he can. That was close to the barrier for
Yeah, he's pushing it. Oh, you're talking about Jakes, yeah.
3.5 seconds in this section. Could also be a case of the tires for Jakes no longer working. I don't know. Yeah, 3.2.
No.
Uy, uy, uy.
Yeah, just in the background as well, Juha's definitely closing down.
Yeah, less than 2 seconds.
2.3.
Did Jakes disconnect? Oh, there he goes. Sorry.
No, yeah, but now you can see them in the same frame. So definitely he's backed off quite a lot. He's concerned about what he's seen on his readouts, I think. He's concerned about engine life.
2 seconds, even less. I mean, Jakes is
clearly
coming to a stop.
Yeah.
I wonder if he's worried about fuel.
No.
Yeah, it could very well be. Well, I mean, not because of the lack of fuel in absolute terms, but maybe he was too optimistic in not loading the full car.
It's closing right up.
This is going to be close.
Drama now. Big drama now.
We still have 2 laps to go here. I mean, it's not over, but Jakes clearly, if he could respond, he would. And apparently he cannot for whatever reason. So this is going to be an exciting finish for the Monaco Grand Prix. Maybe not for the lead, but certainly for second place. My goodness, 32 people are watching it at once right now. That's a new record for us for consistent concurrent viewership. Is 32.
Juha's right on the back of Jake's now as they come across the start finish.
Yeah, he's going to try it now going up to Casino or in the tunnel. So watch out for that because he needs here a good exit. Jakes is making the car as right as he can.
Oh man!
Yeah, he saw it coming there. He slipped there nearly to the wall.
Dang. Tense moments here.
We always have great race finishes.
We do. We've been very lucky where that's concerned.
Now Jakes needs a good exit from here because this is the other overtaking spot for Juha. Bought himself some distance here.
That's a very short third gear there.
Yeah, he's stretching it now to 11,000, so I don't know why the reason was that he was suddenly going so slow. Maybe he felt that he had to, I don't know, economize fuel. I have no idea.
And we are on the final lap of the Monaco Grand Prix right now.
Whoa, and Jake spins.
No! Oh my goodness! You
Trying to
goes
defend
ahead!
from boss.
Oh, he's lost his front wing.
And he's now without a front wing.
Holy
Oh
moly.
my goodness! Oh no!
Well, Coxon is 40-something seconds behind him, but that's
the replay. My
dramatic end.
goodness. Oh, just lost it at the back end and put the car into the barrier. Unbelievable.
Well, maybe it was a case of shot tires.
I don't know, but in any case, Juha is up in second now, and we have little less than half a lap to go. And look at Wilkes; he has slowed right down as he goes through the. He's not going to take any chances here.
And Jakes can consider himself lucky of having a 40-second cushion with Coxon, because otherwise he'd be really, really scared now.
Coming around the corner now. Final corner of the race. Richard Wilkes, John Player Special, Team Lotus. Accelerating under the lights, and there it is. Richard Wilkes wins the Monaco Grand Prix. A great drive. Fantastic stuff. Here comes Juha Boss through the swimming pool, and with David Jakes having lost his rear wing, it's a foregone conclusion. He just needs to...
Easy, Jakes now. No need to go quick. And if he ends up crippling the car in a wall, that could really be the end of it. Oh, look at that.
Juha comes across in second place. A fantastic drive considering his difficulties in qualifying this car. Great job. Jakes finishes third, fighting right to the end. Good result for him. Coxon. This is a guy who is going to be very happy to see the end of this race. And in particular where he is in the finishing order. Hasn't scored any points yet, and finally he will as he comes around through the last corner. And there it is. Sheffield's Richard Coxon takes fourth place for Scuderia Ferrari. The Tifosi rejoice. And Del Piccolo continuing on in his Benetton. This is going to be a great finish today for both the Benetton team. Third and fifth. It could have been second and fifth, but here that's a great points-paying day for Benetton Formula.
Yeah, great race for Gabriele, and hopefully this is the day that he's going to definitely switch the trend.
And John Team finishes in sixth place for Team Haas USA. Lola, Carl Haas, and Ford Motor Company partnering on this drive. Excellent result. I can't remember if this team actually scored points in 1986.
I think they did.
Yeah, but scoring points in this car is a pretty huge achievement, especially at Monaco. So good job, John, on an excellent race. Saber is in the pits right now for some reason, finishing in seventh. Eighth is Bruno Chacon, so good job for him to keep going. And those are the only finishers of the race. 8 cars finishing this race. 9th and out of the race was Bruno Paggiola. The rest of these cars were out of the race. Michael Drexler. Actually, Drexler was a DNF. Janik is 11th. Vadim Tesiak 12th. David Yunt 13th. Dave Miller 14th. Grant Radal 15th. Saber wants to keep running, and he leaves in 7th place still. Anders 16th. Cesarius Lipinski 17th. Jules Bouchard 18th. Adam Hackman 19th. Mike Olson 20th. 21st Simon Watman. 22nd K.O. McKeels. 23rd Tim Hill. 24th Ray Radal. So that is your finishing order for the Monaco Grand Prix. A fantastic race. Lots of action. Lots of barbecue action as well. But Richard Wilkes asserts himself in this championship, gentlemen.
Yeah, he does, and put in a great drive today. He was under huge pressure from Grant Radal for the early stages of the race, but after the pit stops, it all fell to pieces for Grant with blowing his engine. So for the rest of the race, Richard Wilkes was pretty much all by himself, but they crossed the line to take a well-deserved victory.
And we are now joined by the winner of the Monaco Grand Prix, Richard Wilkes. Richard, congratulations on winning one of motorsport's crown jewels. Really exciting race, at least from our side. Looks like you had a lot of hairy moments with Grant Radal, but in the end, you came out victorious. Take us through this race.
It was pretty intense. The first half was pretty intense. Those Grant and Vaden, they weren't leaving nothing on the table. So what you've seen was probably flat out from all involved. I knew it couldn't last forever because, even when I made my pit stop, the tires were completely shot, and I was like, okay, if we do the second part of the race at this kind of speed, there's no way we're gonna have tires even by the end of the race, even with the with a one stop, I mean. But well, I guess I had a very long stop. It was like 20 seconds or something. I lost the lead and I lost second place, and then I knew that my only chance was maybe to pressure Grant, do some fast laps, try to get him rattled a bit. I don't know what happened with him, but I guess he hit something because
he had a collision at the Rascasse with a barrier.
Yeah, because I've seen the yellow flags, and he had a very long stop, so I guess he hit something. Yes. And after that, I had Vaden on my tail, so I relaxed a bit, but not too much. But then he disappeared, and when he disappeared, I looked at the laps that I had still left, and I braced myself for a very, very long second half of the race, in which my concern was basically the engine and the brakes. I was worried that my engine wouldn't last or the brakes would not last because of the rhythm of the beginning of the race. There were lots of instances of I tried that my engine would not hit the rev limiter, and I would miss many shifts, even when I was going very fast. And in the second part of the race, I doubled my efforts and I slowed down as much as I could, basically.
We're also joined by Juha Boss, who finished second. Juha, congratulations on a great drive.
Thank you.
Alberto was telling me that you had difficulty setting up the car for this race and getting it to behave well, but in the end, it looks like Attrition really brought you to the front, and then you were able to apply just enough pressure to get around Jake's at the end there.
Yeah, I got some help from Alberto and from Richard Wilkes as well, which I'd like to thank him. The car went really well. I'm not good at qualifying, so I had to start a bit further back, but I could keep up the pace at the beginning. My plan was to go for an early stop, which hopefully will be a quick one, so I could do the undercut. Unfortunately, it turned out to be the slowest one I've had all year, 25 seconds. So I had to do it all over again. Well, everybody else dropped out. But I ended up just behind Coxon, so I had to overtake him. And then finally Jake's cracked. It took a long time for me to get there. You could see his car move all around, so he's got to give up someday. And there were 3 laps to go. So. Well pleased. I could have never won. I wasn't quick enough for that, but certainly second is more than I thought. So happy with that.
We're also joined by Dave Miller, who was one of many barbecues in this race. Sorry to see you drop out that way, Dave, but you're in good company. Power plants definitely bit the dust a lot today. I'm curious, from your point of view, do you think the long hold on the grid might have had something to do with that?
Well, yeah, obviously not the ideal way to end the race, but considering the couple of weeks I've had in real life and the lack of time I had to prepare for this race, I'm actually quite happy with the result. I think the pace was pretty good, and yeah, it was certainly enjoyable for the 50 laps that lasted. Possibly the hold on the grid didn't help, but I think with so many gear changes on this lap, it's so easy to miss quite a few very quickly, and before you know it, you've cooked the turbo and the engine's turned into the latest bar and grill in Monaco.
Yeah. No, it's something that the people who don't run this mod may find hard to appreciate, is that if you don't lift your foot off the throttle as you shift at just the right time and then reapply it, you can actually cause considerable damage and over-rev the engine. So, and you have to do it a lot of times around Monaco, obviously, and it's very easy to make a mistake, especially the later you get into the race, the more mentally tired you get. It becomes far more likely that that'll happen. Well, sorry, Dave, go ahead.
I was going to agree with that, absolutely. Certainly, I was running paddle shift mode today because I couldn't keep up with using the H pattern. That's how quickly we're changing gear around here.
Well, looking ahead, gentlemen, the next race is actually only 2 weeks away, and I would guess that means the server goes up this evening. But the next round for this series, you go from a very tight and diabolical track to a track that I think everybody is happy to run at, Spa, which will be on March 21st. Any thoughts about going to the Grand Prix of Belgium? I mean, obviously this is your home track. You want to do well. How do you gentlemen think your fortunes might be with running at Spa? Start with Wilkes.
Well, it's going to be a very different pace, I suppose. I was not looking forward to this one, actually, but I won, so I don't know what to think about the next one. Fuel will come back to haunt us, I suppose, in that track. Maybe it won't be as hard as Imola, but we're definitely going to be limited by that again. But it's a track I enjoy, so I hope that at least I can have fun lapping around.
What about you, Juha?
Oh, it's my favorite track. I'm looking forward to it. I hope the McLaren's fuel consumption will help me again. Prefer this track over Imola, so I'm hoping I can score points again. I think I'm the only one who scored points in every race so far, so hope I can keep that one up. And if I get another podium, I'd be happy with it.
That's pretty interesting. I hadn't thought of that. Yeah, you may be the only one who scored points in all races so far. And Miller, you obviously you had a great result last time out in San Marino. Do you think you might be able to rekindle that form at Spa?
Well, I certainly hope so. I think the setup-wise, it should be quite similar. And historically, my car did very well at this race in the real season. So we'll see what happens. We'll do our best and hope it's a good race. Certainly, if the last ones have been anything to go by, it should be very exciting.
All right. Well, I thank you all for joining me in the booth for the post-race interviews. Any final thoughts from Alberto and Ryan, my broadcast partners?
Yeah, more than thoughts. I just went quickly to the default channel and asked a bit what had happened to Dave Jacks, but he said that he had been keeping his pace. That's the pace that he was comfortable on, and that you apparently was able to find some pace and crank up the boost or whatever towards the end of the race. Jacks was a bit frustrated with that. It's understandable, but in any case, third was a good position. So, closing thoughts. I want to see the updated points table, but like I said, I will comment on this for the next race, but I think the championship is shaping up for some people and some teams here.
And Ryan, what are your closing thoughts before we sign off here?
Yeah, I think it was a great race. But it was unfortunate some people had issues with blown engines or even getting damaged. But I thought that was a great race overall, and Richard Wilkes taking a well-deserved win. But if we were voting for a driver of the day, I think it would have to go for John Team with the Haas team car.
Yeah, I'd agree. That was an excellent performance in a car that, quite frankly, is not the class of the field. So yeah, plenty of excellent standout performances in a field of only 8 cars finishing for sure. All right, well, thanks very much to Alberto and Ryan for their help in the booth. Hope you all at home enjoyed watching the race. And for Ryan and Richard and Juha, Dave and Alberto, this is Jason White saying so long from Monaco. We'll see you next time. Please stay safe.